Hello everyone and welcome to another Tinfoil Tuesday. Holy crap, I was gonna wear this, but it's already immediately so fucking hot. So spiritually I'm wearing tinfoil, but in reality I'm wearing something that won't make me sweat constantly for hours while I sit here. Hi everyone, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. If you're on YouTube, go do me a favor and give the stream a like. If you're on Twitch, your presence will do. How's it going? Marusama, thanks for 47 months, as another month down. Indeedly do. Humiliated Grapes, thank you for gifting a sub to Max Power Switch. And Cloud Wizard, thanks for 23 months, says 23 months, the Jordan anniversary. I don't get that. Michael Jordan's number 23. I don't know, sports things. Can't wait for Keanu to voice this line. You're a beta male, Sonic. Is it gonna be like that? Hold on. My music is a different thing now. There it is.
Shadow, why do you want to go to Mexico so bad? I just love Latinas, Sonic. What? Adios, amigo. Whoa, there he goes. All the way across the border. Adios!
Jesus Christ. For those who didn't hear, Keanu Reeves got cast as Shadow the Hedgehog, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm a closet Shadow the Hedgehog fan. I enjoy the game Shadow the Hedgehog. That's how big of a fan I am. So, pretty excited. Pretty big W for me today. Profane Priestess says, fake history in the description. Big round eyes is for me, is for everyone. But I'm glad that it's the topic that you like. MH Dark Beast says, praise Hannah. I'm so happy today, Hannah. Finally, the true sequel to The Exorcist is getting a Blu-ray release. Which one? Oh, Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen. Oh boy. Kino Lorber sure does have a wide net they cast, which I appreciate. That's gonna go on my wish list. That is cool. I saw that. Cruelty 1, thanks for 27 months, says, OMG, another one and still no child support. Sigh. Metaphorical children don't carry as much legal weight as one would assume. This sub-baby's name is going to be Carl Manfred-Jensenden. Carl Manfred-Jensenden. Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 20 tier 1 subs. Incredibly generous, as you often are, Nemesaur. Thank you so much. Have I not made you an MVP yet? I feel like I should. That's major pay for play, but I don't really give a shit. I think you deserve it. I should have had you as a VIP. 89% to level 4 on a hype train. Do 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 ba da ba da ba ba ba. Okay, 89% to level 4. Let's get into something. I reset the internet right before this, so that sucks ass. Genuinely sucks ass if I have to restart. If it does, I'll probably drop YouTube, because I think part of the problem lately has been YouTube. I think I have to refresh my sign-in on it for some reason. I don't know. Seems like it's some people are fine and some aren't. Maybe it's a Twitch thing. I don't know. I don't know. Some people are fine, some aren't. Okay, might be a Twitch thing then. Saint Sanguine with 100 bits says, hope you're doing fine. I'm doing okay. I'm running behind today, as you can probably tell. Started the stream over an hour late, which I apologize for. I am trying to start at 5 from now on. Otherwise, I'll let you guys know, but I'm going to put out an official schedule. I think that poll might be done. Let me double check. We had a poll on the Discord that was going for a while. Let me check. Show results. Yep, 5 p.m. won by a lot. So I'm going to figure out an actual schedule. So each day will be obviously Tinfoil Tuesdays, Tinfoil Tuesday still. We're probably going to do a Foil Friday, Sovereign Citizen Saturday, and the rest of the days I'm going to fill in. So I'll, like, officially have my schedule and stuff. And I'm going to try to start at 5, and if anything happens, I'm going to do my best to message on the Discord or whatever, or Twitter, to let people know if and why I'm late. So, cool. Well, that's out of the way. Let's get into it. 93% to level 4. Get your bingo cards ready. We are playing bingo today. And we're caught up. Cool beans. Let's start with the Hans video. Why not? It's not very long. It's only 6.5 minutes.
Today's video is going to be a fake animal video, and a quick one.
My favorite. Marcel Paul, thanks for a 30 stream streak, says, in France, we got a couple of sovereign citizens making it in the news recently. They even involved, or rather invoked, common law in France, where common law hasn't been a thing since, I don't know, the Carolingian dynasty, maybe? I don't know.
Talking about
thanks, Shark-Beast.
this great white video that I just saw on Reddit, which is pretty unbelievable.
That is AI Trump in is that a diaper? Is that a diaper? Let's open this so you guys can see it. You're welcome. Blame Image Shark-Beast for this. That looks like Donald Trump's head on some sort of... I'm not going to call it a hunky body, but it feels like AI trying to make a hunky body. But I feel like it's missing everything that would actually make someone hunky attractive. It's pretty impressive. I'm actually disgusted by those legs. They look like little fingers. They look like fingers, but legs. Am I wrong? They Rob Liefelded it, too. That's probably good. The feet would have been an eldritch horror none of us could stand. 30 seconds left on the hype train.
And it's mostly about one aspect of the fake animals that you'll see, is that the experts, and I mean experts, it feels weird even saying that, the illuminated individuals are not scared. The reason I say that they're not experts is because you can find 1,000, multiple thousands of videos out there of...
The bingo isn't working on YouTube? Let me get the link for you here. I will directly post it for you. Don't know why YouTube's messing up.
Regular...
It seems to be working on Twitch. I sound low? Let me adjust. Turn him down. Turn me up a little bit. Better? Hopefully that's a little better, or at least it'll be quieter.
Looking people interacting with, say, gorillas up close, or...
Oh, Boxy. Almost forgot Boxy. Sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot so far. We've barely got into anything. But once Boxy's here, we'll be good. Wow, Boxy got pushed way down in my queue. That's weird.
Here we have an example of a great white video where the person shows no fear. Didn't I just watched a video.
If you're an expert, I would assume you would be able to handle, like, a great white. Like, my understanding is that great white sharks don't generally attack humans unless they feel they are in immediate danger, or they are confused, or starving. I'm assuming, like a lot of people, his knowledge of sharks mostly comes from the movie Jaws, which is a good movie. Not a lesson on marine biology, though.
Not too long ago about a fake anaconda, and these people are interacting with it with no fear whatsoever. And I'm not saying that animal whisperers don't exist.
Oh, thank you, Altered Undying.
I
appreciate it. Do you still have my email from last time, I assume?
Of some crazy Russian dude that raised a bear. And
sharks attack if they think you're panicking?
Basically lives...
Good thing I'd have no reason to panic around a shark. That's a lie. I'd be afraid.
The bear and his family handle dangerous animals, but there's too many videos of, maybe not in great white sharks cases, but certainly with gorillas and orangutans. There's all sorts of, they look high-class individuals. They look like people that have access, a lot of money. They, they're born that way. They got the look. But
conspiracy theorist believes evidence is self-evident on the bingo card.
They're interacting with gorillas.
Oh, you sent it
pretending. Let's get into this video. Let me know what you think about this video. I think it's over the top. I believe great whites are a hoax, and that the film Jaws was largely how the great white got projected into the star status fake animal that it is today.
I mean, it left an indelible indent on the public consciousness, and when people think about great white sharks, inexorably they are probably thinking about Jaws and the impression it left, if not directly, secondhand through culture. Yeah, but that doesn't have a bearing on the reality that sharks are real. What are you talking about? Janerdy says, fun fact, my ex's brother-in-law, who unlike Hans actually knows shit about sharks, regularly dived with sharks without an issue. The first time I met him, he'd broken his toe in his home kitchen. Sanzine with 40 stream streaks says, have to go to bed, but thanks for all the great streams. Well, thanks for watching them. They're not worth anything if you don't watch them. So thank you, everyone.
And just consider, how come Shark Week is like a new thing?
Hasn't Shark Week been around since, like, the 90s? I gotta look this up. When did Shark Week start? 1988! So that's not recent. That's not recent in human terms. That's decades and decades and decades.
Shark Week...
That's older than me. That's older than me. To put that in perspective, that's like 36 years ago.
Is a new phenomenon, and it's because CGI got better and better, and now it's easy to make fake CGI be...
I don't think they were making good Jaws sharks in 1988. Do you know what a CG Jaws looked like in 1988? This is what CG Jaws looked like in 1988. Give or take a few years. It wasn't up to snuff! You couldn't! You could not do a realistic Jaws.
Yes. On great whites. Whereas in times past, you would have had to do a whole mock-up like Jaws if you wanted to talk about great whites.
Infamously, the shark on Jaws, the mechanical one, barely worked, which is why you barely see the shark in the film, which of course led to the suspense being greater and helping it become the classic that it is.
So that's why great whites just like exploded when CGI became fast and cheap. You're not going to find old footage of great whites because...
You can find... Hold on. Really? We're doing this? Old great white shark documentary. Sure. That's from 2000. Ew. This definitely isn't CGI. Do you know what CGI looked like in the year of our Lord 2000? Not like this. It's another one that looks even older. This looks to be 90... Ooh, that might be even earlier, looking at this guy. 80... Let me see if the credits say... Oh, Vestron Video, holy shit, this was a VHS tape. Vestron still exists, I have Blu-rays from them. Fuck! Hannah mentions Blu-rays on the bingo card. Oh, god damn it. Hydrate, can do. Vestron's still a company, and they're pretty good. Anyway, this looks like it's from sometime in the early to mid, like, 90s. And I'm sure footage exists prior to that.
Because they practically didn't exist until the film Jaws. And
untrue. Where do you think they got the idea for the film Jaws? You think they made up a kind of shark?
actually, gorillas...
Phyllis Filler says, hey, we're the Stannas. People say we oh, God. Hey, we're the Stannas. People say we stanna around. Hi, happy Tuesday. Happy to be here for another round of tinfoil. Glad you're here.
Those are very similar. King Kong came out in 1933. Straight out of...
And it was a wonder of special effects for the time. Have you seen it lately? It's incredible from a historical perspective. Also pretty yikesy racist stuff in there. Warning. But one of the most incredible pieces of film history in terms of practical effects. Like, the model for King Kong was revolutionary for the time, and it's really great. I'm big into kaiju films, so, like, both suits and stuff that were common with Toho, and more models that were used in things like in Kong, Son of Kong, Mighty Joe Young, are of interest to me. They're very interesting. I also have, a Ray Harryhausen box set that's pretty good. The point I'm trying to make is, I know about this stuff more than Hans. And no, King Kong was not the start to creating real fake sharks. It's a great effect, but it's clearly an effect.
Hollywood.
I should point this out. Luckily, on Public Domania, we'll be able to watch King Kong in its totality in the next 5 years or so. But if you want to see what the 1933 King Kong looked like, that he's trying to say could pass for something real, here's a clip of the 1933 Kong. Like, it's incredible for the time. It's a benchmark in stop-motion animation, but, like, it's obviously a special effect, at least to us today, right? I would think even back then they'd know there's something off about it. You can see the fur kind of move between the shots, but how can Hans think that this in any way looks like what an actual great white shark looks like?
And projected into the mind of the people, and that was like the beginning of the fursuit thing. Maybe they did gorilla suits before 1930, I don't know, but very similar in that.
We have records of people encountering gorillas long before 1933.
King Kong in 1933 was big for gorillas.
Blue Water, White Death was in 71. Haven't seen that one.
Jaws, huge for the great white. And I think the name too, Great White Lie, I think they're kind of hinting that the great white is a white lie. I'm also suspicious.
That's not how people generally talk.
Of surfers, that they know something's up. That long-time surfers who have surfed their entire lives, I think that they know that there's no such thing as great whites.
It's a surfer secret.
They kind of use it to scare the younger people. And who knows, when they say the beach is shut down because there's a great white, who knows?
Oh, it's a shark documentary. That's probably why I haven't seen it. I'm a degenerate that mostly watches terrible horror movies.
Maybe some...
If I could recommend Orca the Killer Whale, pretty good Jaws ripoff. Fenekagami says, "Hey Hannah, glad everyone is okay. Was getting worried with no stream yesterday and then late start. Also, Hans, part of the reason Shark Week exists is that sharks are so fascinating. They're literally their own category of sea creatures. Not fish like most people think. Fish have bones. Sharks don't. Cartilaginous."
Some rich...
Altered Undying says, "Have you seen the first female kaiju suit performer?" I'm sorry, there has... What? 2001 was the first time there was a woman who had ever been a performer in a kaiju suit? That's kind of absurd. Especially considering... That's wild to me. Really? Oh, she played Barugan. Barugan. She did the sound! Yes, she's doing the sound!
細かいところに意外な苦労が隠されていました。歩くときに決して後ろ足の膝をついてはいけないと金子監督の指示が出ていたようです。
Can this be my job? I didn't see this booth at the job fair in high school. I would have played Barugan.
生物的なリアリティのある怪獣を演じるためにはリアルなど根性が要求されるんですね。
Jeesh.
Person just wanted the beach to himself that day. Let's watch the video. Let me know what you think. We got a diver with quite the aesthetic. Looks like a rich, attractive one of them.
The way he said that, what was the... Let's listen to that again.
A rich, attractive...
What was that? Did you hear that on that attractive? Attractive. That came off as very creepy. I'm not normally one to focus on that, but like, what was that? Am I wrong? Am I just being, like, particular today, or did that sound odd?
Aesthetic. Looks like a rich, attractive...
Like, it was almost like he shivered halfway into saying it. Attractive.
One of them showcasing her her amazing bravery.
Same energy as I could eat a peach all day. Excuse you, the line is... I could eat a peach for hours. I want to take his face off.
So I think this is clearly footage that they tell this person, hey, we're going to add a big, scary, great white. Make eye contact and stand your ground. The perspective didn't even look right at all. It looked like the shark was way too far away when she started reaching out for it. What a beautiful CGI creature that is. Please do not attempt this dive. It looked like they tried to shove in all sorts of...
No, I didn't regret that. I didn't regret that.
And there, do not attempt this. Well, no, I don't believe in great whites. I think that they're media fabrications. There actually was a great white video that went viral a couple years ago, and eventually the person who made the video came out and said, yeah, it was just CGI. Because
he does this all the time. He'll look at a specific example of a fake and then go, see, everything's fake, which doesn't make sense, because if everything was fake, why would one of the fakes get called out as fake above the others? You know what I mean? It would be like saying because one person cheats in a, like, Super Mario 64 speed run, that no one has ever done a Super Mario 64 speed run. You know what I mean? It doesn't track.
I think it was a video of just like a lake, or not a lake, just like a river, a random river in somebody's like town, and he jumps into the river, and like all of a sudden a great white is there. And does anyone remember that video? There was one that it went viral, and then later it came out, yeah, I CGI'd that whole thing. And I think that the reason that they had to come clean about that video is because the location made like 0 sense. This dude CGI'd a great white like into some random river running through somebody's town, if I'm remembering this video.
Paradona says, you can dive in to see the creatures, Hans, but you won't. That's the thing that's interesting to me about Hans above other conspiracy theorists. One of the many things is that the conspiracies he believes in are some of the easiest to investigate. Like, you can go to the zoo, you can go and watch the animals, you can see that they are not animatronic, you can see they're not humans, you could, even if you have a little money, like find a zoo that maybe does for extra money, more up-close encounters with animals, and then you maybe get closer to them, you know? But he doesn't do this. He doesn't go swimming with dolphins. He doesn't do any of the things that would get him close to better understanding these. He just wants to sit on the internet and make videos about it. It's interesting. Like, if I had a conspiracy theorist zoo that existed near me, I'd be going all the time to investigate more about these things I find interesting. But, like, he doesn't. His hyperfixation, he could go see it whenever he wants, and he just chooses not to.
Correctly, but yeah, great whites are CGI. They are not real creatures. I don't know how big sharks get, but I think that they tell a lot of these stories to get people afraid, get them scared of the ocean. Think of the old.
To be clear, you should be afraid of the ocean. It's surrounding us all.
Maps, and in the ocean they would draw scary creatures. I think that they still do that today. They still make up scary creatures of the ocean.
No, I don't think although it would be nice if I was a sea captain and there was a brand of nautical charts that did scribble in little sea monsters randomly. That's probably the brand I would go with, because I'm painfully easy to entertain. But typically, no, I don't think modern sea charts have sea monsters on them. Fenekagami says it's kind of like how conservatives see stats of how many immigrants get stopped at the border and then claim the border is open, here's the evidence, and never realize they just shared proof it's not open.
And, oh man, deep sea footage is full of so much BS. There are so many fake videos out there of deep sea footage, and they've made up all sorts of silly fish that are supposed to live really far down. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.
Hans. This person thinks that English is not a real human language.
Fast forward to the English language. I've been telling everyone we are under British Roman rule. This English language we speak now was remastered and flipped, and they included spells in it around the 1500s. They call the class grammar, but grammar is derived from the word grimoire,
Incorrect etymology is evidence on the bingo card.
which means book of spells. And that's why in school, you learn how to spell, and you write in cursive to curse. So basically, the witches and warlocks have placed their doctrine in the schools and in this language to be very deceptive in these days.
I've talked about this before, but there's a tendency in conspiracy theories to have an obsession with semantics and words that relate to one another. Homonyms or homophones, or basically anything that is spelled the same, sounds the same, looks the same. Any way that you can relate it to another word, they will use as if it is evidence. It's a shame. It's a shame.
Even the vowels they give you to say, A, E, I, O, U, having you say I, O, U so much, without you knowing it, makes you subconsciously accept being in more debt.
That's not how human brains work. Also, where's the why? Sometimes why.
This also coincides when you ask a
They also use sometimes why, so that you don't ask questions all the time, because it's only sometimes. Dread Pirate Mick says, the witches have failed because no one writes in cursive anymore. It's true. The witch hunters created computers just to fight them.
person how they are doing, and they say, I am doing fine. And we also associate a fine with monies that must be paid. This is also why in most protests, you hear them repeat over and over, justice, justice. They are called chant. Which song will I listen to today? You get it? Which song will I listen to? Or her hair is dyed. Dyed there representing coloration, but we all know that dye. You see the subconscious trap now?
It's not a subconscious trap. Some words just sound like other words, but are spelled different, or sometimes they're spelled the same. A word can have different meanings in different contexts. Someone get this guy Schoolhouse Rock stat. Benekagami says, Sir, why are you casting witchcraft on me right now? We should put you on trial.
Let's keep it going. If I ask you, where is your brother? I haven't seen him in a while, and you respond with, you know what? I'm afraid I don't know. Why are you afraid? Or you meet someone on your way to work and you say, good morning. And morning is what people do when deaths occur. To be honest, we are speaking in a language that is totally against the life of man. We also awake in the morning, but awake is a funeral party for the dead. Now, the kids of the younger generation today, when you say something funny, they quick to say, I'm dead. I'm dead. Wow. Somehow we are so unaware of the death in this language. Just like we are unaware that we call our televisions TV sets and only actors go on sets. What they've been trying to tell you the whole time is your TV is feeding you nothing but actors all day long. And we go through weekdays. Why can't they be strong days?
Because it's not the days of the strong. We don't divide months into strongs, we divide them into weeks. Has its own etymology you could look up. Overthought says, no one tell him you can make an entire sentence with the word buffalo. Oh. Steve with a Q says, if language is a social construct, this guy is a sledgehammer. Yeah. Disordered understanding of symbolic things seems to be a common trope for conspiracy theories. They either take symbols as too concrete or completely misconstrue their meaning into something beyond what they actually mean. It's kind of interesting.
They are weekdays, so we can go to work to earn a living. And we also know that urns are containers that hold the ashes of the dead. So when you earn the living, you are actually speaking of killing someone who's alive. And also jobs are called undertakings, and undertakings are associated with the dead. When our kids complete a...
When's the last time you've heard someone call a job an undertaking? An undertaking, in fact, doesn't just have to be a job. It's anything you do. A hobby can be an undertaking. Building something can be an undertaking. That doesn't mean a job.
grade in school,
Cloud Wizard says, what's wrong with weak? We all learn strong bad.
we say they passed. And we also know to say that someone who died has passed. We have to be careful of these double meanings. Words have vibrations. We are what
There's that vibrations thing again. The obsession with vibrations, with vibes, with feelings, with making their feelings concrete material things. Profane Priestess says, okay, there's some interesting interplay between language acquisition and psychology. One of my favorites is that whatever language you speak has a huge impact on how and when you focus. To use English as an example, we read from left to right, which has trained us that this is how we should move our attention. Try to pay attention next time you're having to take in an unfamiliar room. Yeah, left to right. I can see that.
we eat, and not only do we eat through our mouths, but also through our ears. We eat and
I feel like you're using a pretty broad definition of eat that no one uses.
digest words daily through our ears, and we constantly feed death via this English language. We're being fed this death. This video is to shine light on the deceptive language they have fed us all this time. Not only are they feeding us plastic with the food and having us living basically check to check, but they also have us speaking death in the language they've provided.
Doesn't understand their problem is capitalism on the bingo card? Lenin Cat says, so he's not entirely wrong on this one. Grimoire is from the French spelling of grammar, grammaire. Spell is related to magic spell, but so is the word gospel. Good story, good sermon, etc. It comes from the Germanic spell, to tell, meaning taking gossip, storytelling, etc. That's often the case with these things, that they have a common etymology, but it's not direct necessarily, or it's not nefarious at minimum. Generally, it's not. There aren't people going around trying to make language secretly nefarious, unlike what these people tend to believe. Fenekagami says, should we just try to get every conspiracy theorist into the Soulsborne games? I feel like those games' storytelling methods would be perfect for these folks, and they would be obsessing over something harmless. Here's the thing. When you actually try and encode things in a story, like actual secret codes for conspiracy theorists, they're worse at average people at finding them. It's not just that they're picking up codes where they don't exist, they're worse at picking up codes where they actually do exist. In fact, the former can be caused by the latter. Because they don't understand symbolism very well, and because they can't read into meaning, they have a tendency to seek that meaning out in a way that's different than you or I. So they'll get wrong meanings. In their search for the meaning that they cannot grasp, they find the wrong answer often. If that makes sense. Lupine, there is not room. There is absolutely not room. You can try, but it's gonna be bad. Oh, this is kind of interesting. This is a Freemason video, not a conspiracy video, an actual Freemason video from back in the day, like that you're joining Freemasonry and they're trying to sell you on it. I thought that this would be funny and interesting on Tinfoil Tuesday instead of a VHS stream, specifically to show the juxtaposition between what the vibe of Freemasonry actually is versus the nefarious, like, global evil organization conspiracy theorists paint it to be. So, let's check it out. Cat makes guest appearance on the bingo card, correct. It's a bit loud. Freemasons on the bingo card. I mean, why is that? That's weird. Very normal. I think they might take themselves a little too seriously. Freemasonry has a sister organization. Forget exactly what it's called. I think my understanding is that Freemasonry has a thing where if you were, like, pre-transition already a Freemason, they'll let you stay in after you transition, but if you've already transitioned, then you have to join the sister organization. Eastern Star. Yeah, the Order of the Eastern Star. I think you're right.
In all the world, no organization has had as its members so many men who have positively shaped the destiny of mankind as has Freemasonry. Many of the most renowned men of all time have been Freemasons. They were patriots, like Paul Revere. They were 13 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Annie Kai, thanks for 35 months.
They were more than 1/3 of all the presidents of the United States.
So why did Freemasons get that rep? Like, if they had power to run the world forever, how come they're losing more members than gaining? It's basically a boomer thing. Don't get me wrong, it predates boomers and predates even, like, the George Washington members and stuff during the founding of the country. It started as a trade union amongst actual, like, builders, and then it became a gentleman's club. Basically a fraternity for wealthy and plugged-in men to hang out and discuss things. And it was like a really premier group for that. So a lot of wealthier, influential people throughout a lot of history have been in this group. It's not nefarious and they're not controlling the world. It's just, like, again, a fraternity for a bunch of, like, dudes.
They were great men, like George Washington, who served as master of his Masonic Lodge at the same time he was President of the United States. They were unique men, like Benjamin Franklin, statesman, author, and inventor,
Man whore.
who twice served as Grand Master of Masons in Pennsylvania. They were loyal men, who supported their respective governments in a divided country during the Civil War. But as Freemasons, they
I
remained
think you're being a little easy on one of the sides there, considering what the Civil War was about.
a brotherhood
It's not both sides the Civil War.
undivided. Freemasons were world leaders, like
Ben Franklin the Poon Hound. I'm almost impressed. Ben Franklin's one of the founding fathers that, like, seems the most interesting to me. Like, he was just inventing, like, the glass harmonica and just, like, eating ass all day. He'd be like, boom, Franklin stove. Boom, cunnilingus. Boom, bifocals. Boom, anal. Like, every day he was just, like, inventing shit and fucking. Incredible. What a guy.
Franklin D. Roosevelt. They were men like President Harry S. Truman, who served as Grand Master of Masons in the state of Missouri. They were great soldiers, like General Douglas MacArthur, who wrote this about Freemasonry: to do good to others, to forgive enemies, to restrain passions, to love neighbors, to honor parents, to return good for evil, not to cause anger, not to bear false witness, not to lie, nor to steal. These
Ben Franklin was anti-slavery before he died, so that's pretty cool.
are the
That's
essential
good, I guess.
qualities of the moral law of
Earlier would have been better, but, you know.
Freemasonry. Freemasons have been courageous men, like the great American astronauts and world heroes such as Buzz Aldrin, who, as commander of the lunar
Thank you, Joe Zeldin. I will look into it more. I guess maybe I did read that and just took it uncritically. I'll look into it.
module on Apollo 11 first landed man on the moon.
Forward, just into the right level.
Phyllis Filler says there was a schism over having women in Freemasonry. The French founded the Masonic Order de la Troye, human rights. Now, that for a... Oh wait, how's that for a jab at opponents? In 1893, which admits both men and women on equal footing and still exists. Oh, that's nice.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Forward. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We've had shutdown. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, 20.
At least 6 other American astronauts have been Freemasons. Throughout history, when good or great things have been accomplished, good men have been involved. And, almost always, Freemasons have been there. Freemasons come from virtually every occupation and profession. They are world leaders, and they are your next-door neighbors. They are presidents of the United States.
These name drops are not aging well.
And they are workers in small-town shops. They are world heroes, and they are your fellow workers. They are doctors and attorneys, teachers, ministers, and rabbis. They are policemen and firemen. They are corporate executives and manual laborers. Freemasonry represents one of the most remarkable sociological phenomena in human history.
Wow, they are really up their own butt.
For so unique is their respect for each other that regardless of their positions or stations in society, within the Masonic fraternity, all of them are equal.
Oh, there's the handshake!
Freemasons come from every religion, which is based on the belief in one God.
Sounded broad and then very much was like, every religion that is monotheistic.
Religious ideologies are never discussed within a Masonic lodge. Yet Freemasonry is the very best friend of organized religion. For all Freemasons are urged to worship God as their consciences require, and they are encouraged to attend their church, synagogue, or place of worship with their family. Political ideologies are never discussed within a Masonic lodge, but all Freemasons are urged to support the government under which they live. Freemasons are among the most patriotic citizens in our society.
No politics, though.
One of the most fascinating aspects of Freemasonry has always been how so many men from so many different walks of life, with such diverse political, religious, cultural, and social ideologies, can meet together in peace. Never have a political or religious debate. Begin and end their meetings with a prayer. Sing.
We will not have a religious debate. We are going to pray at the end. Oh, bizarre. No politics, but we're all patriotic. No religion, but every meeting ends with a prayer.
Others' national anthems. Work together in harmony for the benefit of others. And respectfully call each other brother. In all the world, no other organization has ever attained this remarkable achievement. Other than religion and the history of nations, Freemasonry is the most written about subject in the world.
I don't even know how you would go to verify that claim.
Freemasonry is the world's oldest and largest fraternity, with more than 4 million Masons worldwide. There are over 2 million Masons in North America alone. Freemasons are men who do charitable things in their communities. They believe in family values and are taught to place their families and their vocations above the fraternity. They are urged...
This just feels like a frat promotion video during rush week at college. I mean, that's what it is. It's a fraternity for adults. It's a fraternity for adult men.
Practice the principles of Freemasonry by being honest and helping others. A Freemason's value to the fraternity is not measured by the number of meetings he attends, but rather by the way he lives his daily life. The Freemasons of North America contribute well over $1.5 million a day, 365 days a year, to charities which they alone have established. Masonic Children's Learning Centers are now being established across North America to help children with special needs. The Shriners Hospitals and Burn Institutes for Children have been built, staffed, and are maintained without any government money. And no patient has ever had to pay for any treatment at a Shriners Hospital. That's because the Shrine Masons and their friends pay for it all. The Masonic Foundation for the Prevention of Drug and Alcohol Abuse Among Children is another example of Freemasonry's concern for and help to mankind. The Foundation sponsors the training of school administrators, teachers, and counselors in the Pennsylvania Department of Education's Student Assistance Program. The Drug Abuse Resistance Education, or DARE program, trains police officers.
Oh, not DARE! Oh. Vets Demon, thanks for 200 bits.
To conduct educational sessions for elementary students in their hometowns. The Masonic Conference Center at Elizabethtown
Boo! Everyone hiss.
is now the official DARE headquarters for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The Freemasons of Pennsylvania have made possible the Pennsylvania Youth Foundation to serve the Masonic-related youth groups in Pennsylvania. The foundation is located at the Masonic Conference Center in Elizabethtown, adjacent to the Masonic homes. Throughout the year, the highest quality educational, recreational, and leadership programs are provided for young people from all areas of the Commonwealth. Collectively, these extensive programs represent Freemasonry's unparalleled humanitarian commitment and concern for children. In all the world, there is no better example of Freemasonry's good works than at the Masonic homes in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. It is truly the crown jewel of Masonic charity. It is unmatched, not only in North America, but throughout the world. For this, all Pennsylvania Freemasons are most proud. The Pennsylvania Freemasons
Anonymously says, my grandpa was a Baha'i Freemason. I never got to meet him, but I got his mechanical aptitude. Oh.
Their wives, widows, mothers, sisters, and daughters have the comfort of knowing that should the need ever arise, they have a most comfortable home among friends with the finest professional care available. The benefits of membership in Freemasonry extend further than the unique bonds of friendship and fellowship which have always been inherent in the Masonic fraternity. The opportunity to be part of something so significant in society without demanding much of one's valuable time is one of the most appealing aspects of the fraternity for all Masons.
No, that would be great, Italian Shakespeare. Like, I wish I could see Call do it.
A group
Not that I would cover it, but...
term life insurance plan is now available at remarkably low rates to benefit the Mason's family. A blood bank and organ donor program is now in place. Through the fraternity, there is now an opportunity to be a part of the Big Brother and Big Sister programs. High-quality educational and self-improvement programs are now available to Masons and their families at substantial discounts. Cultural programs have been introduced throughout Pennsylvania for the benefit of Freemasons, their families, and friends. There are opportunities for the ladies of Freemasons to participate in various women's groups related to the Masonic fraternity. All of these groups, like Freemasonry, have charitable causes which they support for the benefit of others. Freemasonry's long tradition of accepting as members only those of the highest character stands to this day. Every Freemason is charged with the responsibility
It wouldn't surprise me if this was produced by the Freemasons of Pennsylvania specifically.
of recommending only those he really believes meet the fraternity's high qualifications for membership. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Freemasonry is that most men believe they must be asked to become a member. You may be surprised to know that it is just the opposite. To become a Mason, a man must ask a Mason to recommend him. As a result of this misunderstanding, many good men and their families never receive the many benefits of
They
membership
sound desperate. Like, I'm a little embarrassed for them by how desperate they sound for members, even in this video from 96. This sounds like they're like, please join. No one wants to be in our dumb, embarrassing organization anymore. To be clear, the charity stuff is actually good. Like, the Shriners hospitals have helped a lot of people. But, like, the other stuff that's like the secret handshakes and the meetings and stuff, I don't know. Profane Priestess says, I'm not going to say the Masons aren't cringe and larpy. They are, but I went to a Shriners hospital as a kid. Those peoples do good work. Yes, agreed. They're why I can walk. It's all free and they offer scholarships, food assistance, and so on to the former patients. I know we should give everyone this cause socialized, because socialized medicine is better than a charity, but I don't know, I have a soft spot for them. Absolutely. The Shriner work is great. However, I am embarrassed for how desperate they seem for membership.
In the greatest fraternity in the world.
I will join the Shriners if I get the little hat. If I get to wear the little hat, I'll join.
Through this video and the friend-to-friend brochure, your
Fuck yeah, that's a powerful image. I want to hand someone a videotape like that. Look at the power of this image right here. This could destroy worlds. I love that that's clearly the label for the tape that this was on, and it's got, like, the mural that they showed. You have to be a Christian to be a Shriner? Good news! I'll lie. Did you know I can lie to them?
friend is sharing with you a better understanding of who the Freemasons are, what they believe in, and what they do. You now know why your friend is so proud to be a Freemason. You also now know that he is not permitted to ask you to become a member. Whether or not you decide to seek membership in Freemasonry, you can be certain you have a friend within the Masonic fraternity.
I'm just imagining someone being forced to watch this with their friend who's intently watching them up to this point. Passive-aggressively trying to get you to ask them to let you into the fucking Freemasons.
Thinks very highly of you. You should be very proud that he believes you have the qualifications to be worthy of membership in Freemasonry. Please consider it the highest compliment that he has shared this video and the friend-to-friend brochure with you. It's a message of kindness from friend to friend. Freemasonry, exclusively for those with the highest character. Rich in history and in heritage. Inherently patriotic.
Inherently patriotic is an incredible fucking sentence.
Dedicated to helping others. Freemasonry, the world's premier men's organization.
Wow. Killing it. Absolutely killing it, Freemasons. Thanks.
Welcome, and today we're going to be discussing the world's...
Yeah, we can take a look at the bingo card real quick. Tartaria. We're about to have Tartaria, so I'm going to mark it right now. Give me numbers if you think you see any that we have. I don't think we had satanic yet. Incorrect word origin is evidence. Hannah mentions Blu-rays. Doesn't understand their problem is capitalism. Believes evidence is self-evident. Cat makes a guest appearance. Spurious symbology is evidence. And is that it? Anything else? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller. What would the shilling be, El Presidente? Oh, I guess the Freemason thing. Yeah, sure. We'll do shilling. They certainly want people to leave. Yeah, no, shilling implies they're not being outright about it. They are. They're saying exactly what the video is. I take that back. I take that back. Shilling implies that they're being duplicitous. And I don't think they were. They were being very open about what that video was. And it's like free. You're not paying to get in, so nah. Can I list them all? There's 93 things on this list. Absolutely not. Okay. Oh, the ones we have? Sure. Tartaria doesn't understand their problem is capitalism. Hannah mentions Blu-rays. Incorrect word origin is evidence. Spurious symbology is evidence. And one of our cats makes a guest appearance. Oh, Freemasons. Obviously. My bad. Freemasons. I don't know. Do they still pay dues? That's funny if so. I don't know. I still think the shilling would require it to be more duplicitous, and it's open about it being a recruitment video, so I don't know.
Fair of 1893 in Chicago. Recently, we've been discovering a lot of anomalous things with our history.
Discovering. By discovering, he means looking at pictures and coming to erroneous conclusions.
And I think the real question is, when did this history really begin? When did we begin?
Thanks, Italian Shakespeare. We'll watch that later.
Might be called the reset. When did the reset occur? You know, when we look at photos like this one, what we see is these World's Fairs that occurred in the early 1900s. And these World's Fairs appear to have technologies and seem to be boasting machinery and buildings that we would never again see after.
Well, the World's Fairs were often constructed as temporary structures, so they would look very grand, but in reality they would be made out of cheaper materials that would only last for a short period of time. Also, some of the places burned down afterwards, which was a common occurrence back in the day, because, hoo boy, materials were much more flammable. With less electricity around, people were using open flames or lanterns more often for light. Basically a shit show. So a lot of stuff burned down. But no, they didn't have technologies we don't have the ability to recreate. They may have had early instances of certain things that look interesting and are cool from a historical perspective, but they're not mysterious or secret.
To the World's Fair. And the historical narrative
Thanks, Robo Twilight.
is that these buildings were built for the World's Fair and torn down after the World's Fair. But when we look at a lot of these technologies and, you know, artifacts on display here, what we see is things that have been inherited by the new people. And everything is on display.
For those who aren't familiar with this conspiracy theory, this is like a mud flood Tartaria conspiracy, in which these people believe that the world and history has been reset multiple times. Think something like Horizon Zero Dawn as a fictional example, where society has collapsed, and then on the remnants of the old world, new societies build on top of it and have access to technology from the previous civilization that they don't fully understand. Mass Effect, another good example, the precursor civilizations from Mass Effect. It's that kind of thing, but they think it's literally true. They think that, like, America, for instance, they think the White House and Congress, Washington, D.C.'s neoclassical architecture, they don't think that we are capable of creating that. So they think that, like, the founding fathers of the United States found that stuff. When they say founding fathers, they think they mean they found stuff. Like, they were like, look at these buildings that were buried under the ground. They're ours now, and it's our capital. Yeah, it's pretty bonkers.
Display for one last time, and we would see this great expo of all these buildings and technology.
Oh, some of them also think that Freemasons are involved because they found masonry that was free, as in they found buildings that were buried and they didn't have to spend money to get them. So they're Freemasons because they found Freemasonry. Not making that up. One of them made it up and believes it.
And then everything would disappear. So again, where did all of this come from? If these earliest photographs come from 1850, early 1900s, then we have to ask, is that when things began? Now we can see signs of many resets and many different timelines, but it's almost
other historical civilizations or groups of people existing in the past isn't a reset. It's just other people existing in different cultures and times.
Useless going any further back than our most recent reset period. What happened here? We arrive on the scene to all of this, and never again do we replicate these technologies. And why do we tear these buildings?
Why do we not replicate the technologies back then? Because we have more efficient technologies and we have different goals in mind when we're building buildings than they did for a World's Fair a century ago.
Down. I mean, look at this. Are we really to believe that this building was created only for the World's Fair?
Yes, it looks exactly like that. It looks like the kind of thing you would see at a theme park or something. Very ornate, but cheaper than it looks. Because it's not made to be there for 50 or 100 years. It's literally made to be a showy, interesting piece for a year or two, if that, and then it's gonna get moved or bulldozed or taken hammers to. Yes, that's exactly what it looks like. Yes, your personal incredulity is not a devastating argument.
I mean, did we really have that much money?
Yes. Did the state have that much money? Yes. How much do you think buildings cost versus like a state budget? What?
To throw around to build glory in this fashion only.
Also, fun fact, that's one of the reasons it was made not to last, because it's cheaper. They made it cheap, relatively speaking.
To tear it down after a World's Fair? Unbelievable. And now we're going to research the Chicago World's Fair here a bit. And it was held in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival to the New World. The layout of the Chicago Columbia Exposition was in large part designed by John Wellborn Root and a few other guys. It was the prototype.
Yeah, my research said by a non-researcher on the bingo card.
Of what he and his colleagues thought a city should be. The color of the material generally used to cover the building's facades gave the fairgrounds its nickname, the White City. Many prominent architects...
Because they were trying to emulate a Roman look, which is funny considering we now know that Roman architecture and statues were quite colorful. It's just that the paint didn't last the test of time. So they're emulating a style that never actually fully existed, but they think it did, and they're trying to evoke that, so that's what they went with. It's kind of interesting.
Architects designed its 14 great buildings. The exposition covered over 600...
Again, like, as a theme park person, this does read to me very theme parky. It reads like a land in Epcot that kind of looks cool, but if you really look closely, yeah, it's a facade. It's almost like a movie set. It's made to look very impressive, but when you really hone in and look, you're like, oh, okay, no, this is kind of made out of cheap material and clearly kind of disposable, but they're trying to for a show effect, you know?
190 acres. The Great Exposition became a symbol of the Victorian era. It also included the first moving sidewalk, a travelator. In 1890,
Now that name doesn't really work, does it? Travelator?
working under extremely
I'm not driving, I'm travelating.
tight deadlines to complete construction, almost all of the fair structures were designed to be temporary. Of the more than 200 buildings erected for the fair, the only two which still stand in place are the Palace of Fine Arts and the World's Congress Auxiliary Building. From the time the fair closed until 1920, the Palace of Fine Arts housed the Field Columbian Museum. 3 other significant buildings survived the fair. The first is the Norway Building, a recreation of a traditional wooden stave church. The effort to power the fair with electricity, which became a demonstration piece for Westinghouse, had been developing for many years. It was called the War of the Currents between DC and AC. This was also the first time that power would be displayed.
What did that one video say AC/DC stood for? Antichrist Demon Child?
Played for mankind. And this was a fight between Edison and Tesla would eventually win this
Devil Child, sorry.
contract. Now here is a look at what they called the White City. Now apparently this was constructed, once again, in a few years for the World's Fair. Now, if this isn't the hokiest story I think I've ever heard in my life...
They don't even ever give a reason with the Tartaria thing. Have they you notice that? They just basically say, well, that's unbelievable. How? In what way? What are you comparing it to? This is a thing that happened. What do you mean? Are you a construction expert? What?
Then I don't know what is. If this looks like this was something that was built within a few years for the World's Fair...
It does! That's exactly what it looks like! I don't know what you... Like, how... If you are making... You could do this today, in that amount of time. You could probably do it quicker, because we have more modern machinery. We just don't have a reason to. We're not doing this right now.
In Chicago, and then torn down, then there's no limit to what we could be force-fed. Once again, we really have to be logical here. Now, if we didn't know that this was in Chicago, we certainly might think this was in Europe.
No, that does not look European. What are you talking about? It looks like it's trying to evoke... It looks like it's trying to be neoclassical. It looks like neoclassical architecture, like the names of things. But I can look at this and go like, no. It definitely looks like turn of the century, like American neoclassical.
This would be built for a fair.
What does he think Europe looks like? Now I'm curious, does he think Europe just looks like Germania? Like, what the fuck does he think Europe looks like?
For a fair. When in present times, this would probably take years to construct. Years. And again, we're to believe that they had the resources to build something like this, only to level it. And this is one of many hundreds of buildings that were apparently built for this World's Fair, only to be torn down. And they call this the agricultural building. Now, does this seem like the agricultural building or some kind of Greek?
I'm sorry, when you hear the term agricultural building, do you think the outside needs to be a farm? On the inside, I would imagine, were demonstrations of different agricultural things, different, like, crops or farming techniques or machinery. Do you think the outside needs to look like agriculture-y? It's just to be in line with the rest of the facades of everything and the vibe of what it looks like. It's supposed to be like a city of the future.
Roman building in any part of the world but America. But no, this was apparently just thrown up only to be destroyed, just for an event. We now use tents and portable such things for events.
Thanks, Harold Elbleman.
No, back then, white marble stone was just fine for temporary usage.
I don't think it's... that's the whole point, is it's not marble. it's made to look like it is that, but it is not. That's the point, because it would be prohibitively expensive to actually create something like this out of those materials, but they simulated it using much cheaper materials, so it still looked nice for the exposition, but could be torn down when it was done, and it wasn't super expensive. Yes, it's like plaster and stuff. He doesn't seem to get that.
Now again, the great Ferris wheel that they boasted. And again, the beginning of electricity. I mean, look at these electric things they're displaying. You know, some kind of energy conducting mechanism. We don't even know.
It's not a, it's literally just a, it's literally just a fucking pillar with light bulbs on it. Because the light bulbs were impressive. Because light bulbs were new. So seeing a bunch of them on a Roman pillar is like, ooh, future and past. The future is the past. The future is like neoclassical, man. It's Greco-punk. Greco-Roman punk architecture.
But apparently that was something that you could display in the late 1800s at the World's Fair. These may have been Tesla's displays. It was the first time he would introduce his motors to the world.
Jonathan, thanks for following.
Again, fully lit up. Late 1800s.
Yeah,
But
the
again,
Eiffel Tower was built for a World's Fair and just never got taken down.
You know, was this
It
infrastructure...
was actually going to get taken down until I believe it ended up getting used as a radio tower in World War II or World War I. Not sure which World War, and then at a certain point it just became like a cultural staple, so now it's not going away. A lot of people who live in Paris fucking hate the Eiffel Tower. Which, like, yeah, I get it.
structure already here.
If I was Carmen Sandiego, the Eiffel Tower would be the landmark I'm least likely to steal. No offense to the French.
Or was this really built for a single event? A temporary event. And the Ferris wheel, pretty interesting Ferris wheel, pretty amazing actually. A true monster.
Wait until you see the eye.
Just like everything back then was glorious. Well, so is this Ferris wheel. Look at this. A little apartment. Each cabin is the size
Ferris
of...
wheel was the American answer to the Eiffel Tower when we hosted the next exhibition. Yeah, a lot of the exhibition World Fairs things had some central thing that was like their centerpiece, whether it's like the Eiffel Tower, the Ferris wheel. Oh my goodness, why am I thinking of... There's one that had this other big tower. The Sun something. Forget what it was called.
A studio apartment. Amazing. And again, you know, ask yourself, could this have been built for one short little event?
Yes. What's the conspiracy? He believes that this stuff wasn't built for the World's Fair, but it's actually an old world city that is secret and is lied about because we don't know the real history.
This
It's Tartaria stuff.
kind of
The Sun Sphere, thank you, that's what I was thinking about.
detail and how identical it looks to what we find all over the world.
Does not look identical.
Notice how there's no ships.
I literally, you can see multiple ships in that image, what? Notice how there are no ships. There's one, there's one. I see at least 3 in this image.
Notice how there's no ships. And here again is a view of the 600 acres of buildings that they supposedly built only to tear down.
I mean, not only to tear down, to do an exhibition that lasted years. I feel like, does he think that the World's Fair was like a county fair that lasted like a week? Like, it was like a year, yeah. It was like a while. Like, that's like, in terms of things, it's temporary, but it's not like built for a weekend. It's like a thing.
No. The plan is to tear this down and to have one last little hoorah and take credit for all of this glory. Now look at the crowd here.
You're noticing the ship. You're supposed to notice the no ships. That's my pan. It's true.
And this looks like Disneyland.
Wow, it's almost like Disneyland. Hear me out. Okay, I'm not even going to be sarcastic about this. I'll just actually tell you. Disneyland was built, Walt Disney was inspired by World's Fairs. Walt Disney and his engineers were literally inspired by the construction of the World's Fairs and wanted to do something more permanent, but similar. So a lot of the building styles and the techniques used to build the World's Fairs and the different exhibitions and experiences for that went into building Disneyland and later Disney World in Florida. So yes, you're correct to see a similarity because they're both fairs, basically. Disneyland started as the attempt to sort of build like a World's Fair-like park. Yes, correct.
Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if this one
With a train. Walt Disney loves trains. Oh boy, that man loved a train.
is made of stone. This may be a cheap replica, I'm not sure. But the one in the back certainly isn't.
You can tell because of the way it is.
No. This was not built for the World's Fair back here. And again, looking north between mines and electricity buildings. So that's really interesting. Who is this source? Friedman Fine Arts. So very interesting, actually. That Friedman Fine Arts should call these electricity buildings. And that's exactly what we're coming to realize that they are now. And again, look at this. I mean, if this was not the most glorious city, and again, I want you to recall the story that I told just moments ago.
Me looking at pictures of Toontown. If this is not the most perfect city ever built!
About these designers of the World's Fair and how they were.
If you don't know what, like, theme parks are like, I don't know how to explain this. Toontown, USA. The joke I was making is, like, this is just what theme park architecture looks like. Like, you build big fake facades of things. Here's one that looks like a cartoon land, literally. It's at Disney World. It's like a fucking outside Toontown place, so everything looks cartoony. Like, I understand that on a day-to-day basis you don't typically see architecture like this, but that's because it's built specifically to look like a cartoon, right? That doesn't mean that this is like a secret from a previous cartoon civilization. It means that they intentionally, for an attraction, built architecture that looks a novel, interesting way. It doesn't mean we're incapable of building cartoony architecture. It means that for all practical purposes, it's not really something that we do, because why would you do that? Not every building should be neoclassical architecture. Not every building should look like Mickey Mouse shitted out. I don't understand what it's... Just don't understand what the anxiety is here, primarily. A lot of the time I can pinpoint what the specific anxiety is of the conspiracy theorist and what they're trying to explain away about the world. The Tartaria ones are a little broad. Feels like general anxieties. Maybe something about how our priorities have shifted away from aesthetic considerations to economic ones? I don't know.
Were imagining the perfect city, and this is, what they designed. I don't think so. This was a perfect city.
It wasn't a city. It was basically a theme park. It was like CES and a theme park had a baby.
And we waltz in here, have a World's Fair, have a big party, and we destroy it. And leave only a few buildings. And many buildings have been preserved in Chicago, very fortunately. But out of these 200, Very few remain. The mining building. Again, you know, the mining building, the agricultural building. Are you kidding me?
The different pavilions have different topics. Epcot at Disney does the same thing. They call their different areas pavilions. They actually used to. I think they've changed it up now. But when Epcot first started, they were going for a very World's Fair exhibition type thing, and they called their different buildings pavilions, and they were usually sponsored by different companies. So it would be like the Monsanto Pavilion, and Monsanto would be putting money into the attractions or whatever. Same thing. Yes, the different buildings would have different themes. That way, if you want to see the architecture stuff, you go there. If you want to see the agriculture stuff, you go there.
The manufacturing building from the casino. Again, you know, was this not a grand building from an older time? I mean, we're not just talking about laying out buildings here. We're talking about laying out these waterfronts with, you know, these glorious statues in the middle of them. I mean, this is not, you know, something that you do in a year. This
is. They did do that. They did that.
Is building a city. We're not talking about building a few.
It's not a functional real city. It just has to look like a city.
Buildings
just
here.
has to be a facade, because that's literally what it is.
Absolutely amazing. Again, between the manufacturers and the electricity buildings. Look at this. The Golden Door of Transportation building. I mean, now it's just starting to turn into a slap in the face. I mean, you're going to tell me this is the transportation building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just, you know, every day I think I've seen the most ridiculous thing, only to have it replaced by the next most ridiculous thing I've ever experienced. The transportation building. And again,
okay, enough of Tartaria, man. Toriador with 200 bits says, "Hello Hannah and chat, found something awesome I want to share with my fellow asthmatics. As you may know, there's a national shortage of rescue inhalers. If you have an inhaler script, immediately call your doctor and get on one of the lists and get nebulizer albuterol. Go online and buy a portable mesh nebulizer. I use UN-207 and 5 milliliter vials of inhalation sterile saline. They're amazing, and I have pretty much replaced my rescue inhaler with this little thing. For legal purposes, talk to your doctors before you change any medication. And for practical purposes. Oh, God. I just need you to see the intro on this. Uses AI on the bingo card. This is called Occult Disney. This is a show where they go through different Disney movies and try and find different, like, conspiratorial occult stuff. And their intro is AI video, and music, and it is the most cursed thing. I don't know if we'll watch much of this beyond the theme song, but you need to see it and hear it.
Ask about Illuminati, says the Charlie upbeat ducks. Is it Disney mind control? Is this MK Ultra Deluxe?
I don't like that.
I go Disney, go wish upon a star. I go Disney, to no bar to chat far. I go Disney, Video Land, Pinocchio. I go Disney, as a bar so low. Pinocchio seeks fun on Pleasure Island, where traffickers need just for your mind. Captain Hook, a lost boy in Neverland, saving kids from Peter Pan's designs. Nemo feels to survive the Barracuda, and that nobody means no one. Snow White never took another breath. Bird Prince, the angel of death has come. Go Disney, we go from real to real.
Yeah, this is popular media is evil on the bingo card. Isn't it disgusting how everything just melts into everything else and it just morphs? It's so gross. It's so gross.
Bohemian romance.
Could they not have edited this down? This, like, you didn't need this to be 2 minutes. Why is it so long? I'll tell you why. Because the AI song program they used to make this makes songs up to 2 minutes long almost exactly. I'm familiar with the website they used to make this. Literally exactly 2 minutes. Yep. They used that AI website you've probably seen that does the music now.
Welcome to the Occult Disney podcast.
So if you hear a weird song currently or recently and you're like, this sounds weird and off, and it's exactly 2 minutes long, AI.
We take the mice and take microscopes up to the mice and look for things in their quantum realities. I'm pushing it, yeah. I should just start getting back to
We take the mice and we slice and make it thrice as nice.
Okay, maybe I need to start giving you that job. I don't know.
Projecting an American flag video on his ceiling.
This is Matt here. As always, Paranoid Americans there. How's it hanging?
Left and right.
All right.
Well, I was describing where we're at, but I guess that both are answers.
Yeah. Well, you can give a multiple choice answer if you want. How are you doing? A, happy. B, I'm pissed at you. C, I'm about to go psychotic. E, I'm hungry. Yeah.
Well, isn't statistically C is the safest thing to go with? At least when I was growing up doing Scantrons, that's what we were told, is that if you don't know the answer, just fill in a C because it was better than a 0.
I've as a teacher, at least once or twice, I've had someone go C's all the way down. So.
Oh, he's an educator. That's great.
It might not be passing, but statistically, there's a higher chance of you getting a higher version of it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, I did well in high school because I knew how to game the tests, not because I knew all that.
Toreador says, if you can't get a hottie with your body, you got a rhythm with your tism. Hey, baby, you like trains?
Stuff that I've
Jesus Christ
since forgotten, right?
What do you mean by game the tests?
Just like, like you said, if you're not sure, choose a C. This kind of question is going to have this kind of answer, that's how you ace the SAT without studying for it.
The essays were pretty decent too, because as long as you just know the structure, right? You set up the premise in the first paragraph, and in that premise, you cite like 3 supporting facts, and then you just drop a paragraph for each fact and then a paragraph for the conclusion. And if you just know that structure, you could just come up with like the dumbest, actual concept. As long as you follow the formula, you'll get a decent grade because, most of the time you're not getting graded on whether or not your stupid little high school brain has a good idea in it. It's just whether or not you know how to think the way that the Prussian system wants you to think.
No, once upon a time I had a social science
I heard the news, Spokane Dog Man.
Teaching certificate, and you have to take a test for that, which was 3 essay questions. History, got it, no problem, answer it like you.
Well, they're already way more boring than their intro, so we're going to move on from that. This is someone trying to use the guise of Anonymous to spread Flat Earth. That's a shame that he showed up to work today.
Citizens of the world. Many that know me know I've stated many times 2 particular quotes. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. And knowledge is granted, it is not learned. I hold these truths to a high degree of granted wisdom. I hope that makes sense to you, and if it does, you are ready for this important next step of your evolution.
Great text-to-speech voice.
If you're
no notes. Word salad on the bingo card? Yes.
Confused, this video is not for you, and you will not understand because you are not ready for the knowledge I am about to grant to the one.
That's That's a map of Ysgramor, or not Ysgramor, Ysgramor's, from, Skyrim. What is the tree called? Fuck. The World Tree, whose name I'm blanking on right now. You can see the Rainbow Bridge and everything.
That are. Save this video and you will know exactly when it is you are ready to
Yggdrasil.
If
Thank you.
You watch it anyway without being ready, you will keep the earthbound habits that will cause you to act out in haste. You will mock and judge and make fun of all traits of the third dimension suffering. But I promise, you will be back sooner than you think and will be welcomed with understanding and empathy. There will be no I told you so or other lower vibrational frequency traits like mocking or making fun of you, so don't force yourself to make the decision. It will be made for you as it did.
Whew, I cannot listen to a second more of that voice. Holy crap. Searching for evidence of red-haired giants.
Down, I found my way from the rivers of Maine down to the Everglades, out to California, and then back down to Texas for a month.
There was a new CC video, but it wasn't very interesting, so he was just going on about same old, same old.
The Mexican border and checked out the comings and goings for a while. But at this point in the game, I didn't really have any direction. I didn't know which way I was going to head. So I found my way.
Your boyfriend believes in red-haired giants? Why? Toreador says, oh honey, there are dating apps for that, and if all else fails, go make some friends at a local drag bar.
Towards the Arizona and Nevada area. I was trying to duck the cold of the winter, and I didn't want to put on socks. So to Arizona and Nevada I went. The first place I stopped was Lake Mead. And something about Lake Mead I had no idea about was there's a lot of bighorn sheep there. And I love bighorn sheep. I hadn't seen them since Wyoming or Colorado. But the only way I could get any footage of a bighorn was
fuck the giants, just hang out with the sheep. At least the sheep are real.
With an incredibly long telescopic lens. And it was a fleeting view. But we're going to put a pin in that because we'll come back to them later. So one morning I wake up in Area 51 and I get a text from my father. That's me passing my father a barbell right there. And the text said, hey, why don't you go check out Lovelock Cave in Nevada? And I thought to myself, well, that's a great idea. I had already done a video recently on giants in America and around the world, and Lovelock Cave was in there, but I had never actually been to Lovelock Cave. So, quickly, I turned the wheels, hit the gas, and headed to Lovelock.
Oh, he's really getting his money out of this drone footage. They see some assholes were just destroying some rock formation near Lake Mead. That sucks. That pisses me off when that happens.
I had a camera with a long lens on it, so I started looking around.
Ooh, these scrambles are no joke.
And after climbing up quite a distance, I realized there was a whole herd of bighorns looking at least. So while spending out Lake Mead, I had these guys running right by me. I mean,
Messy Jaden says, that last video reminds me of a guy I had to deal with at my time working as a phone salesperson. Dude was missing an eye, had the Eye of Horus tattooed over the other. Long story short, guy got super touchy, and instead of showing me his drawings of the world tree and how the world was both hollow and flat and how it was all connected to the swastika in a good way, common by the way, more common, the Nazi apologia, So get upset about that.
I mean, there was an amazing amount of them.
Oh yeah, there is a tag on that.
Must have been 40 of them. Thought of that when it was a little bit too late. But for those that love things like this, I'm going to give you a good 3 minutes of nothing but bighorns. And you can skip it if you want to, but we'll get to Lovelock Lake right after, I promise.
It's 3 minutes and that.
Where I should not have been whatsoever at all. I mean, I'm in bighorn country, but it all worked out well, and I made my way to Lovelock Cave.
Uses a separate GPS system. Did he feel the need to put that in there? Boo skipping the goats. It's Tinfoil Tuesday.
Or been imploded. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what story's true. But the cave is still there, but nothing like it used to be. But it was amazing to me to see this. In 1929, UC Berkeley did a archaeological dig on this exact site, and then sometime after that, the cave allegedly caved in. But the cave is still there, but just nothing like it used to be. When you go to this area, this is what you're looking at. For miles and miles and miles, you're looking at mountain ranges surrounded by wide open desert in every direction. So for them to...
He's looking at what he believes to be a cave that giants used to live in. The cave collapsed in on itself partially at some point, but he was claiming that it was imploded intentionally to hide evidence of the giants.
Ward off enemies, bring captured Indians, cannibalize them, etc. Militarily speaking, it was a good spot. I'm standing right under the entrance of the cave, and this is what you can see in all directions. So nobody was sneaking up on these guys, and the fact that the Indians actually got the drop on them says a lot, in my
for
opinion.
Nomenclature, my guy.
So before I give you the history on the cave, I'm going to show you the cave itself. This is the entrance right there, where the little red arrow just pointed to. And then I'm going to show you the bottom right side, and then the rock outline for where the mountain used to be until it caved in or collapsed or whatever actually happened to it.
Is there a reason you censored
But
that?
it's a large area, and it's like a natural fortress in the middle of the desert, which is very smart on behalf of the man-eating, cannibal, red-haired giants that live there.
We got there.
That's the cave itself, the mountain the cave was in, and apparently the front side was either collapsed.
It's culturally sensitive. Okay.
Or collapsed on its own. Sounds kind of shady to me, but, you know, is what it is. This entire thing ruins the theory of evolution, but what do you...
Does it now? I suggest you publish that if you think that's true.
Gonna do? But that's it right there. That big broken mountain was the cave. You can still go inside the cave, don't get me wrong. Actually, let's do that. I'm gonna bring you gotta hike up the front of this mountain to get to the entrance of the cave, and I'm gonna bring you right inside the cave and show it to you from many angles. How's that? And then after the fact, I'll tell you the history, and then show you the actual proof that UC Berkeley actually called these things giants as well. So it isn't just some myth. These were giants, just like the Paiutes said they were. So like I said, to get up there, you got to walk up a path to get into the entrance, which I put a red circle around. And there's a pathway that goes from left to right, from the entrance all the way down to the
YouTube died, like, completely.
Side, and there's a very thin...
Can anyone else second that?
Goat path, basically.
Oh, someone else's YouTube is fine? Okay, might just be you then.
Bighorn sheep path that you need to climb up in order to get there. So that's what I did. I got to the cave late in the day, so I did an initial walkthrough with a Canon EOS R5 with a 15 to 35 millimeter lens on it. and then I returned the following morning and did it again with a GoPro. So you're going to be able to see both obscura. I don't go to Wikipedia because Wikipedia pushes all the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, etc., their beliefs. They want you to believe in evolution, and yet there's literally proof positive of giants all over the United States, all over the world. And in this video right here, not only do I cover it, but I give you the link so you can check it yourself. Things like this. I've saved and linked the
Yeah, that's probably thinly veiled anti-Semitism. I was having the same thought.
University of California, Berkeley's digital collections, and they have a long, detailed write-up on Lovelock Cave from video.
Okay. This guy's boring as shit, if I'm being honest. It's a Scientology thing, and that was something I had. Okay, I know what we're gonna watch when I come back, but I have to use the bathroom real quick, so let me find the thing we were gonna watch. Oh god, what is this? Could have sworn I was looking at this one.
In recent decades.
Okay. It is that. Be right back. Gonna use the bathroom, and then we'll watch this. Don't go anywhere. You're not allowed. Anonymous, thank you for gifting a sub to non-binary. Appreciate it. Exactly, Talons. That's why I said it. There's no escape from my stream.
Genetic engineering has... In recent decades, genetic engineering has rapidly advanced, revolutionizing the understanding of biology and offering unprecedented opportunities for medical breakthroughs, agricultural improvements, and environmental solutions. However, while the potential benefits of genetic engineering in the eyes of secular science are immense, there are growing concerns.
When I hear the term secular science, I cringe. Every muscle in me, involuntary, voluntary, cardiac, they all tense.
And surrounding its implications. Should man play God, what consequences shall the world reap for sowing these altered seeds? And when shall the line be drawn?
Thank you, non-binary. I did just read that. That's very nice. Thank you.
In this video, I am to discuss genetic engineering with the goal to entice people to read the works within the Bible so that they may follow more closely the Word of God. If you enjoyed the contents of this video, please remember to like, and if you would want to see more, subscribe. Genetics is the branch of biology that focuses on the study of genes, heredity, as well as the molecular processes underlying these phenomena. The key components of genetics are to be given, beginning first with genes. Genes are the fundamental units of heredity, composed of DNA. Each gene is a specific sequence of nucleotides that serves as a blueprint for the synthesis of a particular protein or RNA molecule, which ultimately determines specific traits or characteristics of an organism. The second key component is chromosomes. Genes are organized into structures called chromosomes, which are long strands of DNA found within the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. In humans, there are 23
Appreciate the kind words.
Chromosomes play a crucial role in the inheritance of genetic information during reproduction and cell division. The third key component is the genome. The genome refers to the complete set of an organism's genetic material, including all of its genes and non-coding sequences of DNA. The human genome, for example, consists of approximately 3 billion base pairs of DNA contained within the 23 pairs of chromosomes. There are plenty more details to give regarding genetics. However, the three key components covered shall act as a foundation of understanding within this video, as the prime topic focus, genetic engineering, relies on the discussed components. Genetic engineering is a field of biotechnology to achieve desired traits or outcomes. It's a powerful tool that allows scientists to modify, add, or remove specific genes in an organism's genome, enabling them to control traits and characteristics in ways that would not occur naturally through traditional breeding methods.
Traditional breeding methods. I know what they mean, but I'm not a fan of that.
Genetic engineering employs various techniques to manipulate DNA. The first example, recombinant DNA technology, involves combining DNA from different sources to create new genetic combinations. I want to get to the part
where they say they're splicing people with age.
Beginning with an introduction to the subject. Animal cloning is a biotechnological process that involves creating genetic cell nuclear transfer, SCNT. Somatic cell nuclear transfer involves transferring the nucleus of a somatic cell, any cell other than a disease resistance. Transfer from below should raise concern. With each milestone, the line becomes increasingly blurred, and the subject of ethics is redefined, all in the name of progress. There is only one way this is leading, and were cut and trimmed from their DNA. I take this moment to introduce a brother in Christ, Saint AVS, and his video titled Human-Animal Hybrids Confirmed,
Sounds legit.
Human Pigs and End Times Prophecy.
Oh! It's a pig person. I think that's what we call long pig in the business.
Within his video, he likewise discusses the growing concern surrounding this field and touches upon the subject of the normalization of the chimera image.
This was made by, and it was relevant to what I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, there's a lot taking place, which is quite strange and definitely not a coincidence, but let's get into it. So take a look at this. These are literally hybrids of people and animals, and of course this is not really people and animals, right? This is made by AI, but I'm going to show you the real thing after.
What do you mean you're going to show the real thing? That doesn't exist! Fenekagami says, I'm starting to see why the Elon camp is getting drawn more and more into the conspiracy camp. Both operate their worldviews off of, wouldn't it be cool if, the way Tartaria people talk about classical architecture is like, this is cool. Yep, it's people who think that every thought they have is original and no one has ever thought the same things they think. If you have a thought, that's great. Chances are someone else has already had it. We're all hacks in the end.
And what is actually taking place is crazy. You know, it's actually crazy, but...
Glow-in-the-dark cat. Is there a picture? Yes. We do stand the glow-in-the-dark kitty. What a good kitty.
Do you think it's really gonna happen?
No, but if it did, the furries will be thrilled. Just putting it out there. I am fully in favor of HRT.
With zebras and dogs and different kinds of animals, because, well, when I show you the facts after this, not only look creepy, but in the way that technology is advancing, very, very strange. Netflix have come out with this video clip here. I'll show you a little clip. They basically have a baby in a pram, and they're checking people's reactions to what this baby looks as. Look, it's obviously not really a baby that has been mixed with an animal, but they're trying to make people think it is and checking their reactions.
Didn't you say you had pictures of a real thing? You're showing a prank show now. Is this your definition of real?
And people's reactions are
No, I haven't watched Call in a long time on stream.
very, very surprising. Very, very surprising, okay? People are very accepting of this. Very, very accepting of it. It was quite shocking. But yeah, like I said, Netflix are very strict with copyright, so I'm not going to actually play the video through, but we're going to go into some facts now.
Oh, we're going to skip all the facts.
Such as a cross-species disease transmission. Now, you can read through these articles in your own time. I want to show you the shocking part. Japan has recently lifted this ban in their country. The world is rapidly moving towards a two-tier system of cutting-edge medical research divided between countries with minimal regulation and those that refuse to allow anything but the earliest stages of this work. Now, this was on ncl.ac.uk, Newcastle University website, and this is not fake. This was 2019. Now let's fast forward all the way to 2024 and take a look. This is on singularityhub.com. That is the source of what I'm about to read to you. And it says, pigs with human brain cells and biological chips, grown hybrid life forms are bamboozling science.
What would be the benefit of making human-animal hybrids? They're a big fan of Dr. Moreau.
Scientific ethics. Now this is 2024. This is very recent. Take a look. In September, scientists at Gonzu Institutes of Biomedicine and Health announced that they had successfully grown humanized kidneys inside pig embryos. The scientists genetically altered the embryos, were then implanted into a sow and allowed to develop for up to 28 days.
Sow.
The resulting embryos were
organs for, like, humans out of pigs? Like, I'm not a vegan, so, like, to me that sounds like a pretty good deal. It'd be great if you could grow them without the pig, but, like, if it's no organs or growing organs in pigs, I'll take the pig organs.
Including in the brain. However, the embryonic kidneys were largely human. This breakthrough suggests animals could be...
I mean, they're part human genetically, the part that you, like, inject the cells into, but, like, they're not, like, human in any philosophical way that I would consider legitimate, but maybe I'm the bad person in the sci-fi movie. I don't know.
used for medical research or to grow organs for transplant, which could save many human lives.
Expanding on what has been showcased so far, I also include another brother in Christ, Sling and Stone.
Oh wow, they used My Brother in Christ unironically.
Video titled
That's rare.
Plum Island Mysteries Connected to the Book of Giants, Enoch and Jasher. Within his video, he discusses the many washed-up remains within the US.
Back in 2004, the Department of Homeland Security confirmed that the highly contagious foot and mouth virus had briefly spread within the Plum Island Animal Disease Center in 2 previously undisclosed incidents. $1,000. We know that they're testing diseases at Plum Island. They openly admit that that's their purpose there. But what's really strange are these creatures that are washing up on the shorelines not far from Plum Island. 5 types of creatures. We'll look at some of these instances and see if there's a connection between these and the monsters mentioned in the apocryphal books like the Book of Giants, Enoch, and Jasher. Business district of Montauk, New York, this creature got the name the Montauk Monster. It seems to have the features of multiple different animals. Part of it looks like a pig, part of it look out, buries it, and then
every time. You can tell because of the way it is. Alright, enough of this. Let's take a look at the bingo card. Popular media is evil. Did we have poor understanding of Eastern philosophy? For some reason I feel like we did, but I can't remember a specific. Thinly veiled anti-Semitism. Word salad. Doesn't understand architecture. Nah, Ferris wheel guy isn't an expert in anything. They have to be an expert in some field, but not the one they're talking about. Ancient wisdom. Is that it? Oh yeah, he uses AI. Nice.
How bad is the celebrity clone thing? It's much worse than you can possibly imagine.
They're doing... That's not even a close one. They're doing Keira Knightley and Daisy Ridley now? They're just both brunette? What other similarity do they have? What are you talking about? What?
It's way beyond.
To anyone here with face blindness, these two do not look anything alike. Robo Twilight says, bingo, let's take a look. Thinly veiled anti-Semitism, Hannah mentions Blu-rays, free space, spurious symbology, doesn't understand their problem is capitalism. Robo Twilight, so congratulations. Your bingo win gift sub is on the way. So that's our winner for the day. We'll still play for fun, but thank you. Congrats, Robo Twilight.
On doppelgangers. It's like that movie Oblivion, where this pyramid ship drops off clones and then divides everybody into 15-minute districts.
Fidel Castro looks like Liam Neeson. Again, they do not look alike. These two do not look like each other. What are you doing? Dread Pirate Mick says, Keira Knightley, famously never mistaken for another actress who appeared in Star Wars who might be a better candidate.
Spray us, poison the food, the air, the water, surround us with death towers. That's basically what's going on. And the evidence here of...
Oh my god. That's transvestigation on the bingo card. And 5G with the death towers claim.
Of celebrity clones.
And cloning.
Is just beyond doubt.
Again, a lot of these are like barely, if at all.
There's something going on. People need to investigate this phenomenon.
Yeah, she is.
Traveling through time.
Wasn't she Padme's body double? Yep.
The Thunberg clones
Amidala.
Everywhere. Not only on TV, but basically in real life, in your area. I've seen a Greta Thunberg clone. And many other clones, to say the least.
Personally, you've seen a Greta Thunberg clone? It's interesting.
At first you might think it's doppelgangers, the gene pool, but there's something else going on because most of the common folk don't look like each other. And they don't look like the people that...
You don't know what most of the common folk look like because by definition they're not famous.
You see on television. Very few people do. Here we've got footage of what looks like a cell phone back in the 1950s. These celebrity time-traveling clones are basically another phenomenon all to itself. But the evidence gets weirder. It's like the movie The Matrix.
9/11 out of nowhere on the bingo card.
Where we have, like, Neo.
Oh my god, Neo's passport says 9/11. Is that even actually in the movie, or is that edited?
Born on 9/11. Predictive programming. And that's another thing, the predictive programming. What's going on?
And The Matrix. 9/11 out of nowhere and The Matrix on the bingo card.
And these death towers beaming us like the Starship Enterprise.
Again, that's not what beaming in the context of Star Trek meant. Beaming was not getting zapped by a laser beam. Beaming was teleporting.
The media is now saying
What are you talking about?
now they're coming out with the evidence, if you will, affirming what everybody already,
What are you doing?
to say the least. Natural births will be a thing of the past. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Honestly, if that technology existed, it wouldn't even be bad. Like, if someone wanted to have a kid but didn't want to go through, like, the arduous body-destroying process of pregnancy, why would that be a bad thing? Wouldn't that be incredible?
Check out this footage of creepy Biden. He doesn't blink. We got other footage where creepy Biden is walking around like a robot. It's robot. People don't pass the Turing test. They don't pass the human test. And whatever this alien invasion is, it's basically destroying the country and destroying the world. What the was that? The video
That would be an awkward person misspeaking in a funny way.
guys looking at me. These people are like, when I was human.
I'm sorry,
take your
does
death
that one say that Richard Dawkins and Emma Watson are the same person? Oh, God! Okay.
Let us spray you like bugs. Eat bugs. As they don't even blink on the television, they come after you. There's this gang stalking phenomenon everywhere.
Gang stalking is generally a paranoid schizophrenia thing, or some other form of illness where you're paranoid and you think you're being followed by people. I don't think that this guy has it, from what I've seen from his page. I think he is creating videos to intentionally get an audience of people who have those problems and then exploit them. Because on his Telegram page, he does affiliate links and stuff to buy conspiracy bullshit, and he has a Patreon. I don't think he's ill. I think he is taking advantage of mentally ill people.
Where clones or NPCs are basically chasing...
Because he hits every talking point in a... How do I put this? He's too clear in his train of thought. Like, if he was genuinely believing all of these delusions, I don't think he would illusions so he can pull in as many people as possible. And he puts out videos very consistently. So, I mean, it's on BitChute. There's no one to report it to. On BitChute, Nazis openly post. They don't care.
Wherever you go, peering through your window, basically. You see how this covert action is happening? They set these things up in the woods, outside, or they use death towers. They program them to kill people that basically are waking up. It's like being in the Matrix.
Oh yeah, the
or
Biden
worse.
video I think was edited. That happens all the time in videos like this, is they'll throw in some lightly edited video of Biden or something.
The software is real. These weapons are real. It's called solid-state energy weapons. They no longer need these big weapons platforms.
SEO optimized ranting. That's a good way for experiencing this. See the weasel words? It's intentional.
It's part of the genocide program. You thought that was shocking. Just wait. Just check this out. And there. Of course, it kind of looks like they're NPCs. This might be NPC action, but it's everywhere. And, you know, this video evidence is just a fraction of what's out there. But look at these people. It's like they're robots. It's like they're cyborgs. It's like they're clones already.
Believe sci-fi technology exists on the bingo card for the robot claims.
Program. We've been tracking this phenomenon for quite some time. The early link as it was accessing memory.
What? Why would the eyes be analogous to that?
These things have evolved over time, but organic robotoids have been on the radar since the 90s.
Am I evil? A second plane has hit the femboy. That's the password.
1970s. Who remembers Hillary Clinton collapsing, then going to the clone clinic and then coming back?
She didn't go to a clone clinic. She had the flu.
Basically, another one. And this happened to Jimmy Carter as well. This is some Jimmy Carter footage collapsing in the crowd during a marathon, and basically they bring that guy.
Yes, Clinton on the bingo card.
And, you know, the original George Bush as well basically had an incident. They brought him back to life. What's going on? Whatever it is, it's not human. Is it AI? Is it planet Earth? They're terraforming the planet. They're spraying us like bugs. They're poisoning the food, the air, the water. They're coming after people with death towers. We cover all of this in the book Transhuman Genocide,
Which you can get right now on his Patreon. Not joking. These are all basically ads for his dog shit book.
You want to check that out? That's on Amazon. Kindle version, paperback version. There's a PDF version on Patreon as well. Transhuman Genocide. It goes over the scenario, the weapons, and how you can survive. Not only through evasion and other strategies, but also military-grade shielding. You're going to need a safe room. Why are you going to need a safe room? Why are you going to need body armor? Because basically they're beaming people with death towers. And they're particularly going after
Yeah, shilling on the bingo
Christians,
card.
purebloods,
Christians, comma, purebloods,
conservatives,
anti-vax stuff,
and truthers. And these things shoot right through walls. They leave no holes. They make no sounds. It's all plausible.
It's just he just stokes the paranoia of ill people. Pisses me off. Benekagami says, by the way, Hannah, I watched an old segment of yours covering Call in which he said the Satanists believe drinking children's blood can reverse aging, and you said, no one says that. Sadly, there's at least one millionaire who does believe receiving blood transfusions from his son has helped him stop aging. I've seen that guy. Kooky stuff. Kooky stuff.
The talk of late of the total eclipse that will occur tomorrow. I've been watching the mainstream media, and
this is, of course, the day before the eclipse happened in the United States. I was there. I saw this one.
Trying very hard to debunk the flat earth truth. Here you see this one paid propagandist that works for USA Today. Let's take a listen to what he says, and we'll continue from there.
The solar eclipse this month isn't stopping some skeptics from believing the Earth is flat. The total solar eclipse on April 8th will be visible along a narrow path in the US from Texas to Maine. It's one reason scientists know the Earth, Sun, and Moon move through space.
And this is his claim. And as you can obviously...
I mean, he's repeating it, but it's a general claim made by scientists, yeah.
You see here the path of the eclipse, the total eclipse path, and there's confusion. People actually believe the sun and moon make a path through this area. Absolutely not. And first off, if the sun was truly 90...
The shadow of the moon makes a path through that area.
2 million miles away, as science claims, and the moon 238,000...
How's an eclipse supposed to work on flat Earth? I've heard different flat earthers say different things. Mark Sargent claimed he thinks that the sun self-eclipses, whatever the fuck that means. Sometimes they do actually think the sun and the moon are physical objects, so they'll think it does get in front of the other. It's just that they're much closer than they actually are.
1,000 miles away, you wouldn't have this. You wouldn't have this narrow band of darkness. Basically, the whole Earth should be darkened, not just this...
No. What? Do you know how big the moon is? Not... What? How big do you think the moon is?
Narrow path.
Hydrate. I can do that.
Just as you see here with our sun. It's a local sun, obviously, for those that have eyes to see. Definitely not in so-called
Those
deep
crepuscular rays prove it. They don't.
Space. This is within our system, our God-created world, underneath God's firmament. Same thing with the moon. Obviously, within our contained system, clear as day. Not in deep space. If it was in deep space, you wouldn't be able to see the moon during the daytime.
I mean, it's in space. I guess I kind of assumed deep space meant outside of our solar system, and the moon's not even close to that. It's a satellite of the Earth, so it's very close in those terms. But no, it is in space. It's in orbit around the Earth.
Of course, there are many occasions where the sun and the moon are in the sky at the same time. And the sun and the moon are the sky clock. The whole concept of a clock or a wristwatch is based on the concept of how the sun and the moon work. Of course, the larger arm moves faster. That represents the sun, and the smaller arm is the moon, which...
Wait, what? No, what? No. Oh god, no. You think the minute hand is the moon? You think it's the moon at hand? No. Fucking what? It's an hour hand and a minute hand. What are you talking about?
Moves a little bit slower. So basically they circle around. This is, again, the whole entire concept of how the sun and the moon work above the flat earth. Now let's take a listen here to Brianna Horgan of Purdue University and Jason Rhodes of NASA explain the sun and the moon and the size and the distance difference. And obviously they're covering up for the lie heliocentric model.
Is that the fleur formerly known as Russian vids? It is. Their channel's now called They Live Truth.
Let's play this clip.
On Earth, we have a very special kind of eclipse. The moon is actually just about the same size in the sky as the sun.
Yes, that's actually rare cosmologically.
And their distance
The fact that they have the same angular size in the sky is like a coincidence. A fun one.
and size just work out so they cover the same amount of area in the sky.
And so when the moon passes exactly in front of the sun, it's just large enough to block out the sun, and that's what we call a total solar eclipse.
So according to these two, specifically here with Jason
not
Rhodes...
just these two. It's funny how he'll like put the claim on them specifically as if they are the people who discovered solar eclipses. No.
By the way,
they're pretty well understood.
Rhodes, the 33 name with NASA, how the sun and the moon work out, where they look to us as basically the same size. I find that extremely interesting considering, according to mainstream science, the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, supposedly, and 400 times further away.
Mm-hmm. It's convenient. For the purposes of this, it's also a coincidence.
But again, they appear to us as the same size. That's because they are, clearly.
No, that's not how that works. That's not how that works at all.
Now to explain...
Literally, one eclipsing the other shows that they couldn't be the same size. Because if they're the same angular size, but one is in front of the other, can't be the same size, can they?
Exactly how the sun and the moon work on the flat earth when it comes to eclipses. Let's take a look here first off at NASA's actual video, again showing the path of the total eclipse. And let's get right to it with the actual flat earth model. And as you can see, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Tropic of Cancer, and the sun circles basically east to west. The sun always sets in the west. Let's be very clear about that. And the sun remains within the two tropics. Now, a very important point I want to make here, according to the Bible, which is observable, repeatable, and that's what science is all about, where it states here from Psalm 19:6.
Did you just say the Bible is observable and repeatable?
His going forth, this is the sun, is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit, of course the circuit goes round unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. And I pointed this out before when it comes to tropical plants that grow in this region, such as coconut trees, they only grow in the tropic region here. They don't grow outside of the tropics. Now let's get to the actual evidence of how, again, the total eclipse works on the flat earth. It's going to be very simple to explain. Let's get right to it. Take a look here at this demonstration of the sun, how it works on the flat earth as it circles, again, east to west, no different than a globe. But take a look here at this point right here. And this is the path. Imagine the moon being right here. This is how you get the eclipse path, the total eclipse, from the sun here, the moon blocking the sun to make that eclipse. In this region, this is how you get this path as you see here. Let's play this clip from the mainstream media. And as they show this time lapse of how the total eclipse will work, I'm going to pause it right there. And this is where the sun and the moon meet alignment where this area here becomes totally eclipsed.
But that doesn't show, that's not what we see though.
And some might ask,
we know that's not how it
why
works.
doesn't this total eclipse happen more often? Well, that's because the sun and the moon, their altitudes vary. And for the eclipse
Their altitudes vary. That's new lore. What makes them go up or down? Why? What?
Happen, it has to be a precise.
Wouldn't it get hotter and colder? If you think the sun is local, wouldn't differences in elevation cause a wide difference in amount of energy that's hitting per square foot?
Ice.
You know, the kind of thing you need to consider in an actual model?
Sun and the moon alignment to create this total eclipse. And again, understand, if the sun was truly 92 million miles away, this wouldn't happen. This whole area would be darkened, not this small path. Again, proving the local sun and moon. Let's play this a little bit more. And this makes perfect sense, again, on the flat earth model, why this region only gets totally eclipsed. And the other regions, as you see here, the sun and the moon, side by side, and why certain areas get their partial eclipse, not the total eclipse. Again, just this region. Works perfectly, again, on the flat earth model. Makes perfect sense. And again, some people expect or suspect that this is the actual path of the sun and the moon, supposedly. Obviously, the sun and the moon never set in this region. Again, always east to west. Once again, as I demonstrated with this model, with the sun circling above the flat earth. And I know there'll be some that'll be asking about lunar eclipses. I'll cover that as well with the heliocentric model, which absolutely makes no sense with the Selenian eclipse, which I'll get into. But first off, let's take a closer look here at what supposedly will happen with a lunar eclipse. With, of course, the
I am curious how they're going to try and explain this one. Just the opposite? Just literally they're close and the sun gets in the way of the moon?
All Earth blocking the moon itself. And obviously, the top portion should remain illuminated to the viewer. The bottom portion should be dark. Doesn't matter which side of the so-called ball earth you're on. So I'm going to cover this right now. Let's take a look here at the so-called lunar eclipse, the Selenian eclipse. As you see here, eclipse near the total at sunrise. This is from New Mexico. This time-lapse video shows a near Selenian event. Selenian is the phenomenon of the eclipsed moon being visible at the same time as the sun during sunrise. Let's get right to it. And for the record, this is from 2011, once again from New Mexico. As you see the moon, the top portion is darkened. It's being eclipsed. This shouldn't happen whatsoever, as the sun and the moon are both above the horizon. So definitely no so-called ball earth at play here. And this has happened many times over the decades. So again, this is clear as day. Make no mistake about it. The so-called ball earth is not creating this eclipse.
Again, I think the problem is he thinks that the sun and the moon are both way closer than they actually are, and it's fucking him up big time.
Now take a listen to this individual, the same year, 2011, filming the lunar eclipse, and he's baffled. He can't comprehend what is taking place here, because obviously he's blinded by science. Let's take a listen.
With the bright morning sun coming up, there's not much.
And clearly the sun is above the horizon.
Not enough contrast to be able to see the moon there. We can still see it just a little bit.
The sun is very, very big and very, very far away. So even though it's above the horizon, it can still cast light around. Oh, God.
What I find very interesting is
he really doesn't know how to estimate the size of planetary bodies. This is a shame.
I was expecting the shadow to come upward across the moon as it would go down and it would pass into shadow. And
why is the shadow of the eclipse curved if the Earth is flat? I don't get that either.
Around the shadow, as the moon is here, the shadow is creeping down across the moon, even though the sun's coming up over here, and that must be because of the moon's rotation around the Earth. It's moving farther up, even though the sun's light is actually coming from over there. It's actually coming up.
Jesus Christ. Every time the eclipse happens, we get a few of these goddamn videos.
I'm no sorcerer, but I'll gladly test your steel, old friend.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to
That's loud.
the
the live stream exploration of Time Nexus 1980s for the Restitutor Orbis channel. Just want to wish a warm welcome to everybody who's joining us. I'm going to do this exploration a little bit differently, though, because we have a lot to cover, and I want to get to the conclusions of this exploration. So I'm just going to give a general greeting out to all channel members, Prime Explorers, all viewers, and everyone else who just happened to join us this evening. We're going to talk about the concept of the time nexus of the 1980s. The 1980s is a very intriguing decade, and whether you believe in the old world, whether you believe in the possibility of alternate realities or what have you, it's important to remember that the 1980s seems to be a time nexus, and we'll discuss what we mean by time nexus. So,
please start with that. I'm very confused.
As we talk through the evening, I'll greet you and say hello, and I'll try to respond to you as well as I can, but there's really a lot to cover, and I think this is very significant.
I'll be right back, chat. I have to help out my wife. 1 second. Be cool. Behave. I'm back. Thanks for being patient. Thanks for being patient, chat. I appreciate it.
For all of you who are with us right now, go ahead and hit that like button. And what I'm going to do is start with a little video that's going to transport us back into the 1980s. Although I'm going to bring it up and say, did we ever really leave the 1980s?
Yes. That's how linear time works.
Well, thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this.
Have all the luck. Some guy. Every time I see Miami Vice, that fucking gets in my head. Some guys have all the fame. Thanks, Rod Stewart.
Welcome, everybody. So, I hope that took you back into the 1980s. Although, the argument would be that we never really left the 1980s.
That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? I'm surrounded by ephemera from the 1980s. And even I'm aware that we're not in them anymore.
And why is that? Because it seems as though we have a lot of nostalgia. Well, it's good to see.
80s nostalgia is so 2005. I feel like we're in 90s nostalgia pretty firmly at this point, I'd say, if not 2000s nostalgia. So I would say that the 80s nostalgia fad has passed.
Everybody, and
in the 90s people were big for the 70s, in the 70s people were big for the 50s, in the early 2000s people were big on the 80s.
What do I mean by a time nexus? Well, we define a time nexus as a connection point. Oh yeah, A connection point in terms of reality, a connection point in the timeline. But even if you believe everything that the mainstream tells us to believe, you know there's something significant about the 1980s. You know the fact that we have so many references and probably the most powerful nostalgia towards the 1980s.
Not
And so
again, no, not anymore. What do you like? What? Like in the is he focused on this because that's an era he's from, so he's nostalgic for it? Because I understand that the commercialization of 80s nostalgia has been a powerhouse commercially for like a while, but not really in a bit, right? I don't understand where he's getting this idea that the 80s are still like what we are pulling from for nostalgia. We're not.
What we're going to try to do tonight is explore that. We're actually going to look at what some of the most...
Stranger Things, that's actually a good example. 1 second. I would say Stranger Things is like the last gasp of 80s nostalgia that still exists. By the way, I pulled this up because it's one of my favorite Blu-ray cases because it looks like a VHS tape intentionally. Oh, that's the wrong button. Wanted to show this off. This is my Stranger Things Season 1 Blu-ray, and it comes like it's a VHS. See? And it even, like, the sticker and stuff on it's part of the case. It's not, like, really on there. It's like it's supposed to be an old rental tape or something. And then the case looks like a VHS. And then you open it, and there's the Blu-rays. They only did Season 1 and 2 in this style, and I am begging Netflix to please release the later seasons. Or when the new one comes out, release it all in this format. I love it. Give now. Need. Give. Anyway.
Powerful example.
I found this used at my local DVD shop for $12. It's pretty good.
Examples of that nostalgia are. And to be honest with you, I could probably spend, I don't know, 48 hours just talking about the nostalgia aspects alone. So we're just going to hang on to what's really important and try to stay focused on it because it's not always the easiest thing to do. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the actual historical events of the 1980s. Now, from the historical perspective, and just in full disclosure to all of you, 1, I lived through every minute of the 1980s, and 2, I actually taught the lesson on the end of the Cold War at the university, and it was a very, very popular class for some reason. Now, officially, the 1980s was the end of the Cold War, although when it started, it
one of the most important events of the late 20th century
was when the Cold War started to heat up because the Soviet Union, which was the east side of the Iron Curtain, invaded this little place you may have heard of or you may not have heard of called Afghanistan. And even though the Cold War was in a period of
empires in their golden years wasting time and resources in Afghanistan, who would do that? That can either be an America joke or a UK joke. So pick your direction, I guess.
Detente, or decline in the 1970s, this little invasion, 1979, heated everything back up. And so it led to what was called the Reagan Revolution, the election of President Reagan, and everybody was concerned in the early 1980s that the Cold War was going to go hot. And we talked about the nuclear scare fear-mongering of movies such as Threads and The Day After and so forth. But it didn't happen. Eventually, it turned out that Reagan and Gorbachev became really good friends. At least that's what was portrayed to all of us. And remember that I'm speaking from the American perspective here, and I don't want to denigrate or dismiss the rest of the land because everybody's perspective is just as important. I'm just explaining it from the American perspective. So they were portrayed as bosom buddies once they started meeting and talking.
I thought he was going to say bussy buddies.
Things came along really fast, and the Cold War started to simmer down until the Berlin Wall came down, which was really the event that really marked the end of the 1980s. And of course, all those lovely sequels that we got in 1989, if you remember those. Oh yeah, nuclear detente, the whole concept of it. But the Berlin Wall coming down, was it really an actual historical event, or do you think it was just more of a symbolic event? Because here we are in 2024, and does it seem like the political paradigm, at least the one that we see on the surface, has really changed all that much?
You don't think that the political paradigm between 1989 and the 2020s has changed? Are you paying attention to literally anything? You don't think that the collapsing Soviet Union has a different global impact than modern-day Russia? That's just demonstrably ridiculous, and you don't know anything if that's your position.
Oh yeah, there were quite some styles from the 80s, no doubt about it. And, many people went to school in the 80s. And one thing I find fascinating about it is whether you were a kid in the 80s or whether you were born after the 80s or whether you were in your 20s in the 80s, it seemed to affect a lot of people the exact same way. And so I always found that very, very interesting. Yeah, exactly, Jamie.
What is this guy's attitude? It's just very weird and, like, feels artificial. Gives me the just creeps me out. Just creeps me out.
Hey, Rebecca, good to see you. Yeah, I know. That's kind of what we're admitting all at the end of the day, aren't we? But, is it really about being old, or is it just about how does this time frame affect everybody? And the Berlin Wall coming down is what we all remember from the 1980s from the historical perspective. And there were some really terrifying times during it. Yeah, don't worry, Robert. We're going to get to talking about the popular culture of the 1980s, probably the most powerful and enduring aspect of it. But right now in the history, the Berlin Wall came down, and so everything ended. But getting there, we went through a lot of discussions, a lot of summit meetings. There were a lot of tense periods. We talked about Operation Able Archer in 1983 when the Cold War supposedly almost went hot, but it didn't, fortunately. This is a still from the film Red Dawn, a 1984
Wolverines
film 40 years ago. And, if you're in trouble and you need help, call Patrick Swayze, call Charlie Sheen, and who's that guy in the middle? C. Thomas Howell. Just kidding. I wouldn't forget C. Thomas Howell. But it was really a movie that was kind of reminiscent of the times. It was an action movie. It was directed by John Milius, the same guy that did the original Conan. Oh,
also doesn't make a lot of sense. Russia in that movie, for those who don't know, does a ground invasion of the United States. That was a theme. That happened in one of the Cannon films, a Chuck Norris film called Invasion USA 2. There was no version of the world where that was going to happen. Dillis Filler says, the Stranger Things Blu-ray is in a simultaneous VHS case makes me think, and yet a trace of the true self exists within the false self.
Oh, yes. And let's just talk about that. The whole concept of the films. Everything in the 80s, whether it was the films, the music, even some of the technology, there seemed to be a lot more creativity.
Russia used to be the bad guys in movies. They are again now.
And originality.
If he dies, he dies.
That went into it, interestingly enough. Oh, yeah. And that's really what started a lot of his career. And let's not forget Roadhouse, which was another 80s film. I mean, when I'm saying that you could go on talking about all the interesting aspects of the 80s and the nostalgia of it for
You're not talking about interesting aspects, you're just listing movies you've seen.
48 hours.
And believe me, I'm the kind of person that generally enjoys that. I could do that all day. My copy of Roadhouse is right here if you want to talk Roadhouse. Don't know what it has to do with conspiracies, though.
I'm not kidding, and I'm not exaggerating, and you all know it to be true. So, anyways, RoboCop was a true story. You might be surprised to know I've actually met and collided with Peter Weller, because Peter Weller was a history professor. Certain university I might have brought up in a recent exploration, but that's not the topic of this exploration. We're going to stay.
My copy of RoboCop is down here, and RoboCop 2, and RoboCop 3, and the TV series, and the Australian mini-series RoboCop Prime Directives. Animated series hasn't ever come out on DVD. It's a shame.
Stay on focus, so don't get me talking about Peter Weller. I do like him. I think he's a great actor. Can't beat Buckaroo Banzai. Another 80s movie.
True.
But anyway, this cartoon kind of...
Remember, wherever you go, there you are.
Sums it up really nicely. Everybody was scared.
There was a TV series
of nuclear annihilation, but then
it was made in Canada. It wasn't very good.
They were hopeful for the cooperation between the world leaders. The deployment of Pershing missiles to Germany raised Cold War tensions. The Walker spy ring raised Cold War tensions, etc., etc., etc. Oh yeah, funny you mention that, because Terminator, the original Terminator, was another 1984 film. And, and I mean, you can list all the films, you can list all the novels, you can list all the songs, and it all has that same feeling and that same look to it. And really what we're trying to get from all this is, why were there so many aspects of the 80s that endure to this day? Why is the
I mean, it was probably the peak, the 90s maybe, but we're getting towards the end of the 20th century and we're talking about peak homogenized mass popular culture. So these days we have huge shows and movies, but there are so many different avenues of getting them that everything is atomized. Pop culture is atomized. Like, even a popular show like Breaking Bad, you know, or Game of Thrones is popular, but it's not as big as something like Seinfeld or Friends were in the 90s, or like Star Wars was in the late 70s, right? There was just fewer stuff out there, so when something made it big, everyone saw it. Everyone heard about it. Everyone watched the hit show because most people just had network TV and there were only so many channels. So a lot of things from the 80s are cemented in pop culture broadly because it comes from an era where there was less signal to noise ratio. There was less noise, so the signal makes it out cleaner, if that makes sense. More people know about Top Gun than whatever of the 1,000 movies that came out last year, you know?
pop culture from the 80s so strong? Why is there so much nostalgia? And here I think I'm showing
pop culture was more homogenized, is what I'm trying to say.
One of the most powerful nostalgic examples from the 1980s.
Whereas today,
This
things
film-
are more niche fandoms and subcultures as opposed to being broadly popular.
Film represents everything from the 1980s. You will find everything of the 1980s represented in this one film. Now, we know, what do we got here? Oh yeah, he's a very interesting guy. And, you know, I would never say a bad thing about him. I mean, very interesting guy, wonderful actor, and I really appreciated him. But going back here to Top Gun, I'm sure most of you saw the sequel, Top Gun Maverick. And I want to ask you to think about something. Don't answer.
I've not seen either
right now, but just think about
I own both.
About it. What was the most powerful aspects of the sequel? And then what was the most forgettable element of it? Now, I'm not evaluating the quality of the movies. We know we're going to go talking about remakes and the reimaginings. That's part of this exploration. But what I'm not going to talk about, though, is the Mandela effect. We already did an exploration on that. I'm not considering that, even though, yeah, oddly enough, Nelson Mandela, when that supposedly happened, was in the 1980s. So,
when that supposedly happened, not a fan of that phrase in regard to civil rights leader, one of the most famous civil rights leaders around the fucking globe.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen Edge of Tomorrow. It's okay.
You know, and it served all those uses, and yet it's still fondly remembered as a great movie. And the sequel is considered an even better movie, depending on who you look at and where you're going to. So, anyways, here's one of my favorite images. This was a production still for Red Dawn. My, how things are so different. Looks like we've got the BMP modification right over here, Vismod. And they've got some very professional looking Soviet soldiers. Yeah, check this guy out here. Anyways, I find it funny that they're showing McDonald's. And one thing you might remember from the 1980s was fast food quality was a little bit better back then.
They're literally showing the McDonald's intentionally because the juxtaposition of the Soviet soldiers and the McDonald's arches tells a story in and of itself. You would not normally see Soviet soldiers next to a McDonald's because McDonald's is a symbol of capitalism. McDonald's is a very American, like, iconic capitalism thing. Does he not know that that's what this image is trying to get across? See what I mean about, like, conspiracy theorists being bad at understanding intentional messaging? Like, he clearly doesn't get this very basic idea of this production still and what it's conveying. So instead, he, like, opines openly and just wanders blindly into nonsense.
Oh, yeah. The Michael Keaton Batman. That was another one.
Was this before or after the McDonald's opened in Red Square? Before.
And another fast food note I'll point out. You remember when Pizza Hut used to be a dine-in place and it wasn't a place where you just went and did order out? Yeah, that was all from that.
Do you guys remember when Pizza Hut had the red cups? I remember. We're doing this? We're doing this about fucking Pizza Hut? Jesus.
Time frame, so. All right, well, bear with me. We're going to go to the next part here and actually start looking at this nostalgia in detail.
We used to be a proper country literally just shows the Pizza Hut salad bar.
Well, namely by looking at the pop culture of the 1980s. So one moment here, share screen. And coming right up. Okay, does anybody know what this is a still from? And this is from...
Let me see off the top of my head. Ooh, oh, fuck. Not off the top of my head, unfortunately. Toriador says, they took the Wendy's salad bar from us. I still miss it.
From the very early 1980s. Yeah, I miss dining Pizza Hut, Kathy. No doubt about it. Oh,
Shogun?
look at you, my bailiwicks.
I haven't seen Shogun.
And there's a reason I'm bringing... Oh, yep, you guys got it. Shogun, absolutely right. With Richard Chamberlain. Production in Japan. And I'm bringing that up because what do we have coming out next week on FX? Yes, the new Shogun. We'll talk about that in due time. But Shogun really personified some of the aspects of the 80s, and it really kicked off the 80s because it was considered one of the most popular mini-series. Oh yeah, Roots was a great one. There were a lot of good mini-series, although Roots was more associated with the 70s. Shogun really kicked off the 80s, and it really brought the concept of Japanese...
Pretty sure the Roots The Next Generation was the 80s, though.
Culture into the Western world.
I like Roots.
Quite a bit.
I have it on Blu-ray.
And
Roots The Next Generation on DVD, which has never been released on Blu-ray.
You know, that was just not the popular thing. So, starting off with Shogun, and now, of course, we have our remake here. I mean, I'm sure he'll do a good job, but, you know, I'm just going to miss Toshiro Mifune, okay? I'm just going to say that. Let's go right into it, though. One of the most popular, enduring pop culture aspects of the 1980s, music television.
I mean, is it enduring at this point? I know MTV is a thing. I'm aware of it, but, like, it's not really a thing anymore. I'm sure it still exists, but does anyone care?
Musicians, the songs. What are your thoughts on that? And I saw the comments before I came on and started the live stream, and you were all talking about it. You were all talking about how powerful the 1980s were. You're all remembering all your favorite songs. Oh, yeah. David Bowie, Madonna, Journey. Yes, we all wanted our MTV, didn't we?
He said it.
That's
he
right.
said the
Back when they
slogan.
actually showed music videos on MTV and not showing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of the Ridiculousness Show. Now, nothing against the Ridiculousness Show, but why are they showing that 24
I have a lot against the Ridiculousness Show. It's not funny.
hours a day? I just can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, he's just nostalgia bombing. When
But
it's the Doctor.
But anyway, moving on. Thanks, Sooner West. Yeah, Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor. For a lot of Americans on PBS, Tom Baker was the first Doctor Who, and this is Doctor Who, the British sci-fi series that ran from 1963 to 1989. There was a hiatus. It came back in 2006, and it continues to this day. But for a lot of us in the
You can still go and sit down and drink from the red cups in Pizza Hut. What is this guy talking about? I don't think they have those red cups anymore, and haven't for a while. But they're I don't have a Pizza Hut around me, so I don't know what the dine-in situation
United
is.
States, this is our first introduction to Doctor Who. And so there's a reason why a lot of these science fiction aspects continue to this day. You know, my favorite Doctor Who episode, Pyramids of Mars. You can't beat Sutek. If anybody knows what the heck I'm talking about, I'm amazed. And you know what?
80s?
Line about this. Actually, I'll give him credit.
Do I need to get my copy of Krull? Hold on. Where's my copy of Krull? I know I have it! Hey, I don't know where my copy of Krull is, but I have it. I know it.
That he's being more controlled than I am, because this bothers me. I don't know why we keep doing this, but I know why. It's supposed to bother us. And who can forget the Star Wars sequels, right? And what were those? Yes, he was, Sarah. You're absolutely right. Well, it's all good. I had to get away from talking about the Civil War, J-Dubs. You know, you can't do the Civil War all the time. Although I get the feeling I could probably just keep doing Civil War videos for the rest of my life. Yeah, but do you really think it's going to be done right? Do you think that's the point? Has that ever been the point? Yeah. Well, and whatever you think of these movies in a qualitative fashion, and I'm going to say something that's a little controversial here, but I've got a way to know.
I'm sorry, I found Krull. My brain made me, I couldn't pay attention to my job for a second because I had to make sure my Krull didn't go anywhere. My brain's great. Very functional. Okay, let's look at literally anything else, because I'm getting obsessed with the movie stuff, and this is not Movie Tuesday, it's Tinfoil Tuesday.
So I recently did exactly what I hate doing. A subscriber sent me to a link to a video, and they started the video off by saying, I know you don't like watching YouTube videos, and you ask people not to send links, but... And I said, you know what? Let me take a look at it. And what I ended up doing was watching well over and this is it right here. It's by a YouTube, or it's by a BitChute. It's by a dude called Remnant Ministry.
You can't even think of a word for a BitChute producer, content producer.
Traditionally, I don't follow channels that call themselves ministries. I don't think you can do that. You shouldn't do that. And when people say, thank you for your ministry, Richie, I always rectify it. Do you know what I'm saying? But I sat here and I watched this video, and I was even moved to comment. And I said simply, you might want to make this video a lot short. If you recall, back in 2016, when Anthony and Patch and I were live, I figured out the D-Way was nothing more than a router to the other side. I think you're onto something here, but this is too long. Make a shorter video, more to the point.
What?
And then he replied, I did make a shorter video and get to the point. I can link it here. And then I watched this video, and this video showed me absolutely nothing except introducing words that this person uses, like black holes, which are absolutely, completely not real, proven, or available when you live under a firmament.
Get fucked, Stephen Hawking.
You see what I'm saying? Black holes were theories, and just like everything else, like the Big Bang and evolution, they suddenly became fact because...
Black holes are observable.
They said it
Not directly, I guess, but based off the effect they have on things around them.
was. You see what I'm saying? My other issue with this young fella is he's a computer guy who also calls himself a ministry. Okay, but here's the deal. When you're basing everything that you think and put into videos for other people to ingest and think about, etc., and you're reading CERN's white papers, you know, the information that they put out there for people like us to see, yeah, you're on the wrong road. That's why I dropped Anthony.
You can't trust CERN. Okay, where are you going to get information about it then? They're the ones who are going to have the information. They work there.
Patch, because everything he was saying...
I'd rather just have people randomly say things about CERN. I don't want actual information from the people who know. I want completely unbased nonsense.
Was based off of what CERN's white papers...
What's CERN? The Large Hadron Collider. The one that they discovered the Higgs boson at.
These people know that we watch. CERN has had to literally answer me by name in 3 separate newspaper articles about the human sacrifice, mock or not, that happened directly in front of the statue Shiva. So I've got some background with them. They know who I am. They know who Anthony Patch is. And after this video, they might know who this dude is as well. But reading their white papers and drawing your conclusions from that is terrible. That's information they're putting out for public consumption. If you can see it, I'm talking anything. The government, the military, the Illuminati, anybody putting out information like this, and you're reading it, you need to use incredible discernment. You can't just base your opinion off of the white papers they put out. They know that you see it. Do you see what I'm saying? Period. And then this person said something, you got to know I was horribly disappointed about your April 8th predictions. Not disappointed they didn't happen, but disappointed that you are date setting. Yeah, date setting. And I retorted, I said, yeah, date setting. And I retorted, I said, really pointing out everything that they were doing on the April 8th as date setting in any type of biblical way, them pulling the power on the 8th, well, yeah.
There are people within conspiracy communities, I've seen this a lot in QAnon, that as people have made predictions that turn out to not be true, they become incredibly averse to anyone setting dates, to the point that anytime a date specific comes up, they will be like, you are... They use a term that I don't want to use here. It's sort of Chan speak. It involves the F slur. Date F slurring is what they will often call it. Or something along those lines. So they can become quite hostile if you do that, because every time there's a prediction that is wrong, which happens every time a prediction is made, it's really disheartening to them and they don't like it. So
I would call it like they sell it. And this is the video he's referring to, where at the very, very end, I mean, here's the title.
This is Richie from Boston, yes.
Monday will either be the end, and I was completely and totally, and I was very, very specific that I believed they were going to try to pull the internet and the power. Never said it was the end of the earth or anything to that effect. I've never said that. Either way, it's bad. You see what I mean? Either way, it's bad. So this little fella's videos just keep going on and on and on and on, talking about CERN as a life form. CERN is a machine built by who knows, because nobody knows when this thing was built. No one ever heard of it. And, you know, the first time they ever built this machine, it works perfectly. CERN...
Do we think there's overlap in these communities then? In what do you mean?
CERN is a machine to harness power using D-Wave and other quantum computers and other technology like
between this person and QAnon? I mean, QAnon's a big tent conspiracy, or at least it was. These days, less so. It got kind of specific. How do I explain this? After QAnon... Where do I start with this story? So QAnon started as kind of a big tent conspiracy where whatever your conspiratorial belief was, it could fit under it. But then the media got a hold of QAnon, and it became really popular to make fun of. Rightfully so. It's ridiculous and also really dangerous. So it became less popular and more specific, especially as specific dates came and went. It shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. It had that conspiratorial distillation that I've talked about, where only the most serious and deluded stay, while the people who, you know, are less crazy, relatively speaking, leave as they realize things are nonsense, or at least not helpful to them in their lives. So at one point I would consider it a big tent. Maybe not as much these days, but there's still probably a decent enough overlap in a lot of conspiracy circles that you see QAnon people just about everywhere. In conspiracy circles, you see them less broadly.
We don't even know about, that we've been talking about for almost 10 years. And while I'm talking about my familiarity with CERN, let me show you one of the, a ton of pictures that a subscriber that works at CERN sent me years ago. I think I've shown these before, but I'm not exactly positive. But I mean, the dude works there. So I've had a few insights here and there. I don't think this person is involved with CERN anymore at all, one way or the other, because I haven't heard from them ever again. But they sent me a bunch of pictures. This was a zip file. These were separate pictures, and I lost them on my laptop because this was back in 2017 or something like that. It was a long time ago. But yeah, I've had a lot of inside info from CERN. I've had dealings with CERN, and
what do you mean you've had dealings with CERN?
I just got to say that this ministry dude is not hitting it on the head. But what really got me when he was highly disappointed that I was date setting. I've never ever once even said it's the end of the world. I get accused of that all the time. The end of Christians? Hell yeah. People that are really, really trying to spread the truth. This dude had the nerve to call out other channels because they're making the truth community look bad. Yeah, let me tell you what, if you're actually, or you've ever been in the truth community for any length of time, you look bad. That's what it is, because you're getting information from people that are perpetrating these crimes upon humanity, and you're trying to make sense out of them and warn others without completely losing the plot. You know what I'm saying? And that's very, 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 very...
He thinks he hasn't lost the plot. That's a shame.
Very, very difficult to do. But on that, I'll digress. CERN isn't going to make a black hole. CERN is going to try to tear the veil from the bottom up, doing the exact opposite, as above, so below, as God did when Jesus gave up the ghost. He tore the veil from the sky to the earth. Well, CERN's trying to do it the other way around. They've always have been. That's what they do. That's their cup of tea. is what it is. And for all, I know this is going to make people really sad, but there is no rapture. There is no such thing. There is no rapture. God let Jesus go through this entire life cycle from birth to death as a mortal and didn't spare him. He's not going to spare us. And none of us, even if we name ourselves ministries, I mean, especially if we name ourselves ministries, probably, we don't deserve to be raptured out of here. None of us are saints. I don't even know if saints...
It's interesting that he doesn't believe in rapture doctrine. Most conspiracy theorists that are Christian, in my experience, are also into rapture-like stuff.
are a real thing.
Which, for those who don't know, rapture theology is a relatively recent thing, like in the last 120 years. Like, it's not like this ancient thing. Like, contemporaries of Jesus were not going around believing in the rapture as it is understood by modern contemporary evangelicals, right? So it's interesting that he doesn't follow it, because it's pretty popular among certain sects of Christianity.
I don't even know if anybody ever walked this earth believing it's God.
Evangelicals, charismatics, the Baptist church that I went to when I went to school there as a kid. H-Baird says, fun fact, the CERN cafeteria serves beer and wine, and on Thursdays you can have duck for lunch. I want duck.
God prescribed.
You know what I haven't had in forever that's delicious? Pheasant. Someone hunt me a pheasant and cook me a pheasant.
That's just my...
It's delicious.
...opinion, but what do I know? I do think he was onto something when he used part of the movie The Matrix to show
Matrix on the bingo card.
The AI taking over, but that only works when you've taken the mRNA vaccine.
Oh no, he's anti-vax.
Seriously, in my opinion. And the weird thing is about calling somebody a date setter when they're telling people, hey, look at all this information that they have put out.
Yeah, but you're, like, wrong. That's what they don't like. They don't like that once nothing happens, you look dumb. That's their words, not mine. I think this is beyond a discussion of smart or dumb. This is conspiracy. It's not about intelligence. It's a lot of other things. But, like, it makes them feel silly for believing you, and it demonstrates to them quite firmly that their belief isn't real, that they then have to maneuver around and rationalize, which isn't fun. So that's why they don't like it. He's not even self-aware enough to understand why they don't like being proven wrong over and over and over again.
Here, all of this information, all these events, all these things that have happened, all the words that were said, all the warnings that were given, all the states of emergencies that occurred, so forth, so on, and blah, blah, blah.
Saint Sanguine says, I've had pheasant when I was stationed in Okinawa. How was it? Do you like it? I thought it was great.
My warning was, be ready if they pull the power or the internet. And if they do, this is what you should do. And yet this fella says that he was afraid that CERN was going to actually release Lucifer on the 8th.
Is Lucifer trapped?
Is that the pot calling the kettle black? I'm just saying, because it pisses me off that I watched an hour and 20 minutes worth of videos and learned absolutely nothing. All I heard was stuff that we were saying, and then somebody just saying, well, I used to be a computer guy. Well, here's the funny story.
I mean, it's not about status. I'm just saying the pheasant I had was delicious. I'm not doing it because, like, ooh, I want pheasant. Like, I just remember it tasting really good.
Way back in the very, 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 very beginning, and D-Wave,
I like gamey meat, though. Like, I like a gamey meat.
D-Wave, way back in the very, very beginning, they hired all the best computer guys to build the quantum computer. And they fired all of them because computer guys don't know how to build a quantum computer because a quantum computer is a router. It's an
what?
Internet connection.
A quantum computer is a router. It is not.
To the other side.
It's a computer that can computate qubits.
It gives them 24/7 high-speed, no buffering internet so they can talk to fallen entities. CERN is the device in which to bring it forth.
Okay, so he thinks CERN is talking to demons.
Tear the veil, rip the veil, which is why CERN and ITER are paired up. There's a reason they needed a machine like ITER that allegedly has the power of a neutron star to be built directly, perfectly straight in line with CERN to give it the power. Nobody ever...
What do you mean in line with CERN? Any 2 points make a line.
Never talks about ITER. I've been telling you about ITER for 8 or 9 years now. And trying to get any information on ITER is next to impossible because this is the real problem right here. This is the star that they're building on Earth. You see what I'm saying? This will power CERN to the point where it's able to literally tear the veil. Now,
ITER is a different lab. That's why he's saying. That's why he's saying it's a different point that makes a line. Which again, any 2 points make a line.
on the 9th of April, I didn't want to do this. Let me jump in real quick. Knowing what I know now about them claiming they have a machine that can cause an eclipse on a literal daily basis.
What? Who says that? Who do you think says that?
That would explain this strange indenture around the sun. You see what I mean? Because this remained the entire time I was filming completely. So I find that strange, but that's all I wanted to say. Whatever. I had to go there and see this for myself. And I'm glad I did, because the entire time I was there, there was no moon. And many people have come across and come to the same conclusion, that there was absolutely no moon in the sky.
The shadow you saw was the moon. You can't see it because the illumination is on the other side, so there's not a sun to reflect light from the surface that's facing you to see it. So all you can see is the lack of light as it covers the sun. It's an eclipse.
So what was causing this eclipse?
The moon, motherfucker! The fucking moon!
The eclipse was apparently man-made, or something to that effect, or something supernatural that we don't even understand. I look really smart right there, don't I? Like I'm really thinking up a good idea. And by the way, I paid extra in the hotel room for internet service. The internet absolutely sucks. I couldn't even open up an Instagram to show somebody something today. The internet's going out.
Simpsons did it. They did.
All over the place because
Who Shot Mr. Burns, Part 1.
Slowly testing. They're slowly testing what it's going to look like and what the reactions are going to be, because they're doing this. They're doing this. What timetable? I don't know. Nobody knows. You seriously? I don't know how many times I've said that. I'm sorry that some people are horribly disappointed, but I don't ever recall setting a date anywhere, anytime. Warning of all hell breaking loose on the 8th of April. That's what a smart person does. That's what someone that's seen some things happen. That's somebody that's predicted things and watched them come to fruition. That's what you do. But then you tell them that nobody knows. But be ready. It's better to be ready and not need it than need it and not be ready. Do you see what I'm saying? I just said that wrong, but whatever. At any rate, the entire time I was there filming the eclipse, there was no moon in the sky whatsoever at all.
The moon was the part that was eclipsing the motherfucking sun. I cannot handle this.
At all. There wasn't a moon 4 hours prior, 3 hours, 2 hours, and there was no moon in the sky at all afterwards, even though it was a new moon. And like I said in the last video, the dude that's putting out the video showing the moon at plus 50% full, there was a new moon on the 8th, so that's not accurate at all. That was a complete and utter hoax, like you'll find on the internet. People telling other people that look to them for information to be ready when these guys give you every single sign in the world that something bad's going to happen.
He does have a similar voice to Ape Father.
Or something bad could happen, or they're really trying hard to make something bad happen. Yeah, I'm going to tell them every time. But if you want to know anything about the CERN that you haven't already heard, I haven't heard anything new about CERN in
Yes, he said he couldn't see the moon in the sky.
years. So
because it was daytime.
there, as they say, is that. I'm out.
Terrible. Just terrible. Keanu Reeves is playing Shadow the Hedgehog, if you missed that. So that's some good news. Makes me happy. So that's good. Let's see who we're gonna raid. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I've hit my limit on nonsense for the day. So that's it. That's another Tinfoil Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out. Much appreciated. I will be back tomorrow with, I believe we're going to do Sovereign Citizens tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow for that. That didn't work. Why didn't the raid command work? There we go. Tomorrow we should be doing Sovereign Citizens unless anything changes or if there aren't enough videos. Chili's put out some stuff, but I don't think we're going to cover it. He's basically just repeating himself at this point, like I said last time. I don't plan on covering him unless something interesting happens. I will check it, Altered Undying. And, that's it. So have a great night, everyone. Thanks if you're on YouTube. Give the stream a like. Much appreciated. If you're on Twitch, enjoy the raid. And I'll see y'all soon. Have a good night. Bye.